Planning Committee. Item 1 to sign the minutes of the previous meeting. Do you wish I sign as correct record, please, members? Agree. Thank you. Apologies for absence.
Councillors Paul Patchett, Mark Wesley and Brian Osborne.
Thank you. I think we're a full house otherwise, aren't we? Yep. Right, members' interests. Any disposable interest, please?
Chair, for the very first item, I just happen to know quite well some of the members of the audience.
Okay, well, many of us will know members in their ward. Yes, Councillor.
0721, I have met with the applicants on site.
Right. So do you aim to take part or what?
I do intend to take part.
Right, okay. Right, party whipping arrangements. Right, members of the public, we don't get together as a party or as a group of people to decide how we're going to get voted beforehand. We wait till the night and all vote individually. There are no applications withdrawn. Now we go on to the the nice bits. If the fire alarm bell rings, it won't be a practice, so please go out as tidily and orderly as you can, so the same way you came in. Please switch your mobile phones off. If it does go off, we've got a tradition that we pay a £5 or £10, depending on what tune it pays, to the chairman's charity fund. Right? The proceedings will be recorded. Speakers will have 5 minutes, then you'll hear a tone, and 3 minutes, not 5 minutes. Then you'll hear a tone has to be wound up and has to wind up. That's the only opportunity to speak, so please don't interrupt the rest of the debate. I'm sure you're not going to don't hiss, clap, boo, cheer, or remain standing and shake your fists. But I'm sure you're not going to do that anyway. During the evening you'll see people talking up here whilst either you are talking or other people are talking. It looks extremely bad manners. It is the only way we can get an answer to what you're saying, the point you're making at the time. I can't give you an update on performance. I assume it's still the same because main lady is away, and I haven't been told any difference, members, so I think it's exactly the same. But I'm sure you'll get an up-to-date one next time. Right, now we go on to the planning applications. So the first one is 079, well it says Crick and Yaltoft.
Thank you, Chairman. Just before we begin, members, I've received some very late representations from Clay Coaton Parish Council, also Crick Parish Council. The comments received from both the parish councils reiterate their concerns with regards to noise on the existing MX site, increased traffic, and concerns regarding compromising the safety of horse riders, and also being a small community, that they feel that this is a rather urbanising of their areas. We go on to the application now. The application itself comprises 7 parts of a large agricultural field adjacent to the east side of the M1. It's bounded by existing field hedges on all 3 sides, and also the motorway side planting as well. Access is via an unclassified road, which is an A42A, that along axle which follows the line of the existing bridleway, which runs from the site due south. Immediately east and west is Yaltoft Wind Farm and also part of Lilbourne Wind Farm, which are both operational at present. Towards the south side is the long-established gun club, which operates under community development rights in respect of temporary use of the land. The nearest residential properties to the sides are Shenley Farm and Newhouse Farm, which are approximately 200 to 300 metres on the application sites and west of the M1. Lilbourne itself is about 1.9 metres north, Yaltoft 1.8 metres, so 1.8 kilometres east, and Crick 2.3 kilometres south. The proposal before members tonight seeks consent for a change of use of the land and development to create a new motocross facility. The proposals include 4 containers to house the office, briefing room, toilet facilities and a staff room, formation of a car park and earthworks for motocross track and a junior track as well. The water hole is also excavated, serving a sprinkler system which is used to reduce dust emissions. The current application seeks to address reasons for refusal given by the District Council within a previous application. That reason for refusal set out within the report. Your members will recall that this application was brought before Planning Committee, and during that previous Planning Committee, members resolved to undertake a review of the methodology and for results of the submitted noise assessment by an independent consultant. The results of that noise assessment are set out within pages 14 and 15 of the committee report before you. And the independent consultant advises that I considered the content of the planning noise assessment prepared by Sustainable Acoustics and consider it to be thorough and robust method assessment of motorsports noise propagation from this site. On the basis of the given criteria, I am satisfied that the report represents the probable environmental impact of the noise from the site and the conditions in which the measurements are undertaken. And regard to this independent consultant's advice and the advice given within the report, officers are recommending this application be approved. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Joe. We have 3 speakers. Mr. Wenham from the Yaltop Parish Council for a start. No Yaltop Parish Council?
Yeah.
You have 3 minutes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, councillors, I'm Andrew Wenham, Vice Chairman of the Yaltop Parish Council. I'll take this opportunity to reiterate the despair that the people of Yaltop feel at the possibility of this application being approved. We feel that the rural way of life which we cherish is being eroded by insidious, inappropriate development. Our once beautiful countryside, much vaunted in the council's Love Daventry campaign, is in our part of the district a wind turbine forest carpeted with massive distribution sheds. Our access roads jammed with HDVs. Now we see a proposal which will stop us enjoying our gardens and rural walks because of noise, which in certain conditions of wind and climate transcend the low hum of the motorway to become an irritating nuisance. Your Environmental Protection Officer stated to the Planning Committee that nearby residential properties are not exposed to excessive noise in the absence of significant winds in the direction of the receptor. This comment is a clear admission that we will hear it and can hear it on anything but calm days, since the prevailing wind is in the direction of Yaltop. We have already witnessed noisy motocross bikes travelling through our village on track days and making illegal access along Hillmorton Lane into Yaltop. This is unacceptable. Have the members been there to hear when there are 40 bikes running on the track? Has the independent noise assessment been carried out? Both of these were required by the resolution at the last meeting. Now we see a proposal which will take away the legal right for equestrian enjoyment of a bridle path. I've been there on the track day with only a few of the proposed 40 bikes running, and there is no way that a rider would take a horse along that long section adjoining the track. On the roads, we're expected to slow down for horses. Now we see a proposal which will bring additional traffic to our overcrowded roads. The misinformation in the application that there is not a similar facility within 2 hours' drive of this is untrue. This council only in May of this year find a motocross facility in Weedon for breaching the noise abatement notice. Now we see a proposal which brings pollution and fossil fuel waste in the shadow of allegedly green wind turbines. How ironic. Now we see a proposal which, if it goes ahead, will be perceived by the residents as Daventry District Council's final abandonment of our villages to inappropriate development. Because, of course, we are near the M1, so anything goes. The first time this application came to the Planning Committee, it was refused. The second time it came to the committee, nothing had changed, and the clear feeling of the members was to refuse again, but for fear of an appeal, the decision was deferred. This time, again, nothing has changed, and we would urge the members to have the courage of their convictions and reject this application that offers absolutely no benefit whatsoever to the rural community it will affect. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. This person is Mr. Hemmings from the Ilbourne Parish Council.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Hemmings has unfortunately been detained on the M6. He's phoned me and asked me if I would read something out on his behalf. May I do that?
That's fine.
The council have not conducted an independent noise assessment as they said they would. Merely had a previous one studied by another company. It is still a fact that the data used in the assessment is flawed. However, this is an exercise so that DDC can be sure they cannot be caught for an appeal if they vote to refuse. DDC are working on the basis that of 1 day's measurements. In the unfortunate event that the council see fit to approve the application, every effort must be made to minimise the impact. I have in my previous submission asked the council to restrict use to 4 days in any rolling 7-day period, at least 1 day every weekend to be a no motocross day, not every bank holiday to be used, and to ask that they be wholly responsible for unlicensed motorcycles trying to access the circuit via public roads through the village, which will be evidenced and passed on to the police, DDC planning and environmental health departments. The applicant's Facebook page shows a small number of people requesting camping overnight. This should be completely refused. Perhaps the planning committee will agree to review the situation with the application in 6 months or longer to understand the actual impact on people's lives and the environment we live in, should the application be accepted. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Green is the agent.
Good evening, councillors, and thank you again for the opportunity to address you. My name is Chris Green, a planning consultant at Andrew Granger and Company, acting on behalf of the applicant. Whilst I do not wish to repeat the description of the proposal, I would just like to clarify that the application before you seeks the change of use to provide a motocross practice facility and the associated works. This is not a racetrack, and no races will be permitted on the site in line with the agreed conditions that are outlined in the officer's report. Further to the previous deferral, it has been accepted by the independent expert and the council's own environmental health department that the thorough and robust noise survey report, which itself was carried out in collaboration with the planning case officer and the environmental health officer, has been accepted as an accurate assessment of the environmental impact of noise from the site, providing suitable evidence upon which the application should be based. The applicants have engaged and cooperated with the council throughout the process and have gone well beyond what would reasonably be required of them. The perceived concerns have been dealt with sufficiently, and the agreed conditions set out in the report comprehensively control and restrict the usage of the application site and mitigate any adverse impact which may be caused. Given the significant levels of evidence which have sufficiently satisfied the perceived concerns against the application, I strongly urge members to determine the application this evening in line with the officer's recommendation for approval. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Local members, is it ladies first, Councillor Robertson?
It's actually,
Councillor
I'm not going first.
No. We'll let the lady go first. Councillor Robertson.
I should be brief, members. Thank you, Chairman. I noticed that in the papers, the officer makes reference to a number of documents supporting this application. I find it very sad that that is written when we have so many objections from local people who actually know what the situation is in the area. So, you've heard the parish councillors, not just this time, but last time as well. So you know what the objections are, you know what the problems are. I feel every sympathy all the objectors for the parish councils and the Water Society and the Ramblers. And I find it very, very sad that actually there is not any longer, I think, a good reason for accepting planning price to this application, with the conditions that have been imposed, which have been suggested. Obviously, we don't know what you like with them, but I think in view of the objections, the conditions that have been imposed, it's going to be very difficult to sustain an ongoing objection. The conditions will ensure that if local people's worst fears are recognised and actually come to pass, there's actually ways for them to actually deal with those problems. I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Max. Councillor Robertson.
Thank you, Chair. Basically, this thing's all about noise. There's virtually nothing else. I've been persuaded that people don't want it, and I've also been persuaded that people do. I know people on both sides of the argument quite well. I can think of no real good reason now to seriously object to this. Now, I do still object to it simply because of the noise issue. I cannot see why speed and noise are intertwined in such a way. But I would like to listen to what other councillors have to say before I make my mind up totally.
Thank you, Councillor Robertson. Councillor Chandler.
Thank you, Chairman. Here we are again. As you know, I was not present at the meeting on the 10th of August, but I have listened to the recording and paid particular attention to the significant parts of that recording. It is clear from that meeting and from this meeting that there are many local people who still have quite serious concerns about this proposal. Their main concern, I think, is about noise. They've made reference also to me and to others about the traffic, the influence of traffic, the fact that sometimes people ride these hardly roadworthy bikes to the site. That's not a planning matter, that's a matter for the police. We've heard comments about the irony, and I think that's quite a useful word, of burning fossil fuels for fun in the close proximity of wind turbines, which we didn't want either, which are supposed to uphold our green policies. And we've also heard from the speakers that there is a local feeling that the local planning authority isn't listening to them and is just making sure that things that they don't want happen. However, we must obviously stick to the rules. Oh, incidentally, there was a comment about one of the nearest residential properties being Shenley Farm. I believe that's due for demolition because it's in the middle of the Dirt 3 expansion site. I just thought I'd mention that. We had a comment which I think was possibly not strictly accurate about whether the access along the Hillmorton Lane bridle path is legal, but again that's not a planning matter, unfortunately. So let's concentrate on the bother. The bother that's being raised mostly is the noise. At the previous meeting, a lot of reference was made to the proposal and the likely imposition of unwelcome noises on the local residents. And the planning committee agreed with a proposal which I've listened to several times because there seemed to be some confusion about what it actually meant. This is the problem, of course, when people use fairly technical or semi-technical language, and it doesn't always mean the same thing to everybody. The proposal was that the decision be deferred to enable members of the planning committee to visit the site during activity, and also for a professional to be engaged to give a view on the noise and the report received. I can't actually hear anybody say that there should be a rerun of the noise measurement, which some people seem to think. But nevertheless, the point is, and I would draw members' attention to page 15 of the officer's report at the top, which is the end of the quotation from the second expert. I'm satisfied that the report represents the probable environmental impact of noise from the site under the conditions in which the measurements were taken. It is clear to everybody who's made any observation at all that the perception of noise and the impact of noise is very, very much dependent on the conditions, both the terrain and the weather. I believe there was no wind at the time when the measurements were taken, and we know from our experience of the noise generated by the M1 motorway, the A14 road and the shooting club at Crick, that it very much depends on the air density, which is to do with the humidity, and also the direction of the wind. It's also true to say that it very much depends on exactly where you are when you listen. Many of us took the opportunity on the recent, I think it was last Sunday, occurrence of the activity on the site to travel around and listen from various points. I had a few comments, but strangely, there was one spot in particular in Yelvertoft where the effect was really quite devastating. But again, it wasn't everywhere. So I can see that members of this committee have difficulty in dealing with this application. As you are, Chairman, I was very disappointed that half of the significant reasons for the deferral at the last meeting was so that members of the planning committee could witness the noise, but nobody did. The site visit was cancelled through lack of engagement. I found that particularly disappointing because people don't know unless they've done their own visits, which I did, of course, because I lived there. I'm torn by this, Chairman, as you can imagine, because I understand the planning rules, and I understand that what we've heard already, that from the planning point of view, there's very little that can be put down as a reason for refusing this application. Nevertheless, let us turn our attention just for a few moments to the proposed conditions. These conditions are actually quite rigorous, and all we can hope is that they will be monitored and, where necessary, enforcement action will be taken. Draw people's attention in particular to condition 5, the track shall be operated for no more than 4 days in any given week between the hours of 10 and 6 p.m. and I think 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. I think some people may have missed that because they were worried about it happening more frequently. There is also a condition asking the operators to publish a schedule so that people know when this noise might be happening, in case that's of interest to them. In another life, I spend a lot of time dealing with complaints about noise, and therefore I know how anxious people get, how upset and angry they get, and how little there is actually that can be done. If you just think for a moment, if the weather conditions are such that the noise is unacceptable in somebody's garden, they will raise a complaint, I hope, with the local authority through the environmental health officer, and the conditions say that the environmental health officer will take certain, within 28 days of receipt of a written request, the operations of the track will employ an independent consultant, etc., etc. Now, unfortunately, of course, it's quite likely that when they do that, the conditions will be different, so they get a different answer. So everybody is unsatisfied. Or, isn't that a wonderful view? Look, all those wonderful turbines. Wonder where those go. So, as I said, Chairman, I'm torn, and so I'm listening to hear what other people say. I would ask people to concentrate on the planning matters, but I would also ask people to bear in mind that what they might be imposing on other people, they might find unacceptable themselves.
Thank you, Councillor Chandler. In defence of some of the members of the planning committee, you actually stated at the time, we don't want a site visit and we won't be going, and we hope that the people that did ask for a site visit went. So there were people who stated that at the time.
Yes,
So
I did note that.
it wasn't every member. Councillor Paul's next.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm glad you said that last statement. I did say at the time, and I'm sure Councillor Chandler heard me say it on the recording, that whilst I'm not comfortable with everything, I think everything is covered within the conditions. I said that at the time. I can't see any planning reason to refuse it, quite honestly. Noise is a strange thing. Somebody slams their car door outside my house at 5 o'clock in the evening and I don't hear it. If they slam the door at 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm going to get up and kill them because it sounds absolutely dreadful. So noise is very, very difficult. People like living next to railway embankments because the noise of the train helps them go to sleep. The person who moved in next door said, I can't sleep because them damn trains keep going by. So I think Alan has, I don't want to go all through it, Alan has said what needs to be said quite extensively. I don't have a problem in proposing that we accept officers and vice chairman.
Thank you. You have a seconder. Councillor Evan, you're next to speak anyway. So.
Thank you, Chairman. I spoke for this last time. I believe that the conditions we've got there are robust enough so that any noise that is over the top will sort of be dealt with. Otherwise, somebody's going to find that they're dishing out a lot of money when they could have saved it by keeping the noise down. There aren't any planning reasons. Our consultees have not put any objections forward. As somebody said just now, if there is a noise, too much, a noise abatement notice will soon be issued. I don't see any reason for not refusing this, and I'm quite happy to second it.
Thank you, Councillor Evan. Councillor Fairchild.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I listened carefully to what Councillor Chandler was saying, and I have to say that the noise is a transient thing, because the minute you complain, it's not there anymore. So it's not a nuisance that can be investigated in any robust way, as I understand it. What I'd like to see, and I can't myself see many planning reasons for refusal, is whether and I don't know if this is appropriate, some sort of agreement, perhaps a section 106 can be entered into with the applicant, that they provide noise measuring machines, whatever they're called, in the gardens of some of these properties, so that there's actually a visible measure of any environmental problems with that noise that can be then investigated, and you would have proof that they had breached whatever the condition of the noise levels was.
Thank you. I'll ask environmental health member about that.
That's why I bring it up.
Right. Would you like to comment on that?
It's a very difficult thing to do. We have something like 350 noise complaints we investigate every year. Obviously this is a high profile one. If we received a complaint on a certain day of the week, we would make every effort to get an officer out there straight away. It's in our interest to get there and witness it if it's significant. If it's significant, then we can serve an abatement notice and change the way that things are done to reduce that impact.
Even on the weekends?
even on a weekend, we operate on a weekend if it's predicted that certain things, so it may well be the wind is in a certain direction, a certain strength, so it makes sense to have an officer at a certain point at a certain time. It may be that we deploy noise recording devices to certain houses so that they can record the noise live situation, and then we can play that back the following week. All sorts of things we can do to determine whether it becomes a statutory nuisance.
I think, sorry Chair, if I may come back, is that's what I was saying, but I think that the applicant should be providing the noise recording devices as part of the Section 106 agreement, because it's their issue that there is a noise. It shouldn't be at our expense that we're trying to prove that they control the noise. And I think it should be a condition.
It's the way it's normally done. I can tell you that. Okay, well, just before I get chummed back, I can tell you the Long Buckley one was closed because Environmental Health did put these noise machines in various properties close to it that were hearing the noise, and was successful when it went to court to get a conviction against the people running it. So it did work. Chum.
For you, Chairman, I just want to say that, you know, the measurements you're hoping to put in place through Section 106 aren't really necessary. That is really predicting that there is going to be a noise nuisance when the noise assessment's been received. I've indicated there shouldn't be a noise nuisance. However, despite that, the conditions, in particular, condition number 2, does allow for prior notice of these events to be given to the local authority, so that should a noise complaint arise, then for environmental health legislation, such measurements can be taken, such measurement can be put in those gardens should that arise.
Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Mitchell.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I listened to what Councillor Chandler said and to all the speakers. And the problem is, we were asked the question, we would like that next to us, and I think no one really would like that next to us. And that is to be fair to the villager. Unfortunately, the planning regime is not dictated by us. It's we have to apply the law, and we are all in this, I think, in the mind that unfortunately the planning application was put in that field, and the officer had to deal with it in a professional way, and therefore they try to get to something that is appropriate for everybody. And I think with a condition, knowing that the operator can operate without any kind of planning for 14 days per year, maybe now we will have, despite the fact that no, I would not like to have it next to me, but I don't see in any planning ground how I could go against officer advice, and that is unfortunately the position I am in, despite having listened to everything.
We've got 2 more speakers, and hopefully we can go to the vote. Councillor Robertson.
Thank you, Chair. Just to put a couple of things that have been said into perspective. Although the official site visit was cancelled, I made my own arrangements and did in fact go to Crick on the very day that they were running. And so I can make my own decisions about that. When it comes to sound meters, I've got one sitting next to me now running on my mobile phone, and it says that I'm making a lot of noise. But the ambient conditions are around 50 dB. So I don't think that if anybody needs to make a sort of an official complaint to Environmental Health, they need to go to the trouble of having official sound meters. They can just use their mobile phone app if they have such a thing. I'm not saying that everybody does, but
Experience has shown me that the best sound level meter is the one on either side of your head,
no.
particularly when it comes to low frequency noises such as that emanating from this kind of event.
Yeah.
Separating out the sound of the birds, the sound of shotguns, the sound of countryside, cars passing out is a very difficult thing to do. If you can hear the actual event going on its own above a very quiet rural background level, then it may be that it's sufficient to cause a nuisance. It may not.
But we have also heard, have we not, Chair, that that's not really a planning reason. It's really an environmental health reason, and we're here to determine a planning matter. And so, in reality, we've got to leave that to others.
Thank you. Councillor Carter.
Thank you, Chair. Just whilst we're on the subject of noise, could you clarify what example it is of an unsatisfactory noise level? Is it a certain amount of decibels, or is it certain factors took into the equation?
It's an incredibly difficult thing to do, and I guess it's what makes our job interesting. There are no hard facts. That there is certain BS standards that you can apply, but I don't think that's appropriate in this case. It really is the case, though, for instance, we've got a number of motocrosses that run across our district. One is restricted to 4 a year, one is restricted to 10 a year, they're restricted to certain time, a certain number of dates, depending on the extent of the nuisance that comes from them. Most of them are obliged to publish scheduled events in advance so people can arrange to do other things. This is very much along the same lines. It will really be the case of seeing what it's like as we go forward. Every time you encounter a nuisance, you have to take into account kind of area that you're listening to it within, the frequency of the noise, the actual nature of the noise. It's all very subjective.
And I think the last time was Councillor Ritchie, wasn't it?
Chair, I'm glad that you have come to me. I
saw you doing that.
Yes, I noted, and I noted in the room that I did actually put my hand up first. But I'm glad that you have got there. Look, I think it is unfortunate that the site visit didn't take place. I think it puts us in a difficult position if we wanted to make any objection to this application. The fact that we are planning to make a site visit was announced in the Daventry Express, and the fact that we haven't therefore done it, I think, is disrespectful to the applicants and to those who have raised objections about noise. But I'm glad that some have actually done their own site visits. At the time our site visit was supposed to take place, I spent 2 hours walking my dog in parts of Crick, the tracks between Crick and Yelvertoft, and on the south side of Lilburn. I was 2 hours because I just couldn't be satisfied that I could actually hear anything at all that was coming from a motocross circuit. It was the noise from the gun club was quite appalling, but I found it very, very difficult to actually discern any motorcycle noise above the general ongoing rumble of the M1. That it really appeared to me that this is coming from something that is additional to the noise of traffic on the M1. Now, as has been noted, different atmospheric conditions, different wind directions, and so on, and you might have a completely different experience. Councillor Jantler said that at one point in Yelvertoft that there was a garden where there was the noise was unacceptable. But although at the last meeting when we discussed this, I was very concerned about noise and what the impact would be. Having gone on that occasion and other occasions to try to listen for noise, I have no concerns whatsoever now on this application. The conditions are there, and of course, I assume that environmental health is going to proactively monitor what actually happens. But the conditions are there, and I don't see that there is ever any basis for us not giving this our approval.
Thank you, Councillor Ritchie. I think we've had, if it's a quick one, Councillor Paul, because we're going to vote.
I do obviously take objections, and a number of us, as you quite rightly said, Chairman, were happy with our officer's advice.
And you were one of them, Councillor.
And I was one of them, and I said at the time, and it's been recorded, I'm not going to go down that road again, Chairman, so, the fact that we as a committee disrespect applicants or anybody else. I take objection to all applicants within this chamber are treated with respect, and all those that are opposed or for applications are treated with respect. Thank you.
Thanks for saying that. Right, we have a proposal, the application be approved, which has been seconded as per officer's advice as well. All those in favour, please show. Those against? One. Must be an abstention as well. Just one abstention? Yeah, one abstention as well. So the application is approved as per officer's advice.
Absolute disgrace. We're monitoring you lot.
Right, if you want to go now, we'll give you a couple of minutes to clear the chamber. All right? Yeah. Yes, we just wanted to get some return
There's not a planning reason yet, but I didn't want to say. I could have told you to object, there's no
Right, okay. We continue with the next application, which is 374, which is in Drain.
Thank you, Chairman. This is an application to vary conditions 5, 13, 16 and 24 of Permission BA 2015-0527 for the replacement college site in Daventry. The principle of development has been established on site, and the development on site is progressing, as you can see by the picture before you. The main reason it is at committee is the need to vary the section 106 to take into account the variation of planning conditions relating to the original permission. Condition 5 originally related to landscaping, and this should be submitted prior to construction above slab levels, but this is now proposed prior to first occupation, which is considered reasonable. Condition 13 relates to bats and bird boxes. Similarly to 5, they wish to submit the details prior to occupation. Again, reasonable. Condition 16 relates to the secure by design. So the design of the CCTV, lighting, intruder alarms are further considered. This is considered reasonable, and the crime prevention design advisor does not have any objection to this. Condition 24 relates to the access details requiring to be submitted prior to occupation and not prior to construction above slab levels as originally imposed. These conditions will ensure that the works are carried out before the development is brought into use, so those will be still adhered to. Other conditions are also recommended to be altered to take into account the information which we've already had submitted to discharge those original conditions. So instead of materials to be submitted, the development shall be carried out in accordance with these agreed details. The Town Council recommend permission. The Highway Authority and the Crime Prevention Design Advisor do not have an objection. The proposal is therefore recommended for approval, subject to the deed of variation to the original section 106 being entered into. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Catherine. We have two speakers. Mrs. Reynolds from Town Council.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. This did sit in my ward, but tonight I'm just talking on behalf of the Town Council. Having been on the planning committee, I can see variations to conditions, and we understand why these conditions are being altered. For me, some of these are a bit disappointing, but I understand why, and the Town Council have agreed with officers, and they're happy for it to be approved.
Thank you, and thanks for coming along and saying that as well. Next person here is Ms. Lou, who is the applicant, well, representing the applicant.
Yes, I'm the applicant. I retract my request to speak.
Sorry?
I retract my request to speak. I don't have anything to add.
That's fine, thank you. That will help our planning committee considerably. Right. Local member, is there a local member for that ward here? No? Councillor Irving Swift then.
I think we should go with officer advice.
Thank you. I gather you're seconding, Councillor Patchman.
Yes, but I'd also like to say, should this not be a retrospective application? Because it's obviously above slab level, isn't it?
No, because obviously, yes, the works have been progressed, but sort of in the sense the original commission wasn't retrospective. We don't need to put the development shall be carried out within 3 years because obviously it's already been carried out. So in a sense, similar to sort of retrospective, that we don't really need because it's already started, so it's really taking that condition off.
Okay, that's it. So you're seconding?
Yes.
Anybody else wish to speak? If not, this will be one of the fastest ones ever. All those in agreement with the recommendation for approval, please show. Unanimous. Okay, thank you. The application is approved. Right, we go to the next one, which is another application for
Pretty much the same size.
pretty well the same size, which is 0468. Over to you.
Thank you, Chairman. Like the previous application which we've just heard, this application seeks to vary condition 30 to the outline permission for the residential on the former college site. So the highway work, which was or is currently in condition 30, to Yeomanry Way and Badley Road West is taken away, but the remainder of the condition 30 is in place. The principle again has been established on the site, therefore its consideration is whether the condition should be altered. The main reason for it coming before members tonight, again, is it needs to be a variation to the original section 106. The Highway Authority have no objections to the works required for Yeomanry Way and Badley Road West to be removed from the condition. In addition, the applicants wish to vary the section 106 so it allows them to commence the residential development prior to the first occupation of the college building instead of waiting for the practical completion of the college building. The play area also should be removed from the application site. This is following comment from the crime prevention advisor in the reserved matters application. The play area, the lap and the leap shall still be carried out, but not within the site, but adjoining the site. No comments have been received to date from the Town Council, however we've got a representative tonight. The application is therefore recommended for approval, subject to the section 106 being varied. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor. 3 speakers. Ms. Lee for a start.
Thank you for letting me speak. I'd like to speak regarding this the request for the removal of condition 30, which reads as prior to the commencement of any works on the site, detailed drawings, proposed junction improvements for the London Road, Western Avenue and Badley Road West, Yeomanry Road junctions to include ground levels, drainage, gradients and surfacing should be submitted to and agreed in writing by the local planning authority and thereafter should be constructed in accordance with the agreed details before any dwellings are occupied. There has been a traffic analysis undertaken, and this was carried out on weekdays only between 8 and 9 and 5 and 6. I wondered if there was any impact being considered for outside of these times. There is an estimation that there will be 200 more students arriving and departing on top of the current 300 pupils by bus, taxi, bike and on foot, and some are leaving as late as 7 o'clock. The housing development is for 129 dwellings, 2 of which are 2 or more bedrooms, and the majority of the properties are expected to have 2 or more cars, and that was information that was provided by Avant at one of the residents' meetings. This will increase the traffic flow by a possible 200 to 260 cars. That's residential alone, without the college on top of that, and that will heavily impact on Badley Road West and the Yeomanry Way Junction. as both exits from the housing estate development feed onto these roads. From the assessment work carried out in the traffic assessment, it was identified that one of the arms of the Daventry Way junction was already operating slightly over capacity. This will only get worse, obviously, with increased traffic. Families from the development will be driving children to school, as there's not capacity at the Grange and Kingston Grange Juniors to accommodate, so that's more traffic at peak times leaving the area. There's not a current suitable bike path or crossing over the Daventry Road West Yeomanry Way junction. There have been multiple accidents around that junction over the last few years, including 2 that have been attended by the air ambulance. As far back as 2012, it's been identified that there's been problems here, and Councillor Randall has spoken in the press in the past and said that when she was first elected, people asked her to try and do something about those roads, but unfortunately the County Council said there were no money at the time. Is this not now the time to ensure that the provision is put in to increase the safety of the area, especially with the increase in college traffic and the increase in the local population? The properties along Daventry Road West are already prone to flooding. Some of them have already got pumps installed to deal with this problem. If the improvements are not presented and approved before building commences, how will they have the reassurance that the improvement to the junction in the future, if any improvement actually ever takes place, is adequate to protect their homes from increased flooding? For those of you who do not live in the area and travel this road daily, both in and out of peak hours, it's already a dangerous junction and many motorists approach it as a bendy road rather than 3 separate roads. There are frequently pedestrians waiting to cross in unsafe places, especially as there is no footpath on one side of the Western Avenue junction with Daventry Road West leading down towards London Road.
Could you wind up?
I am now, this is my last sentence, thank you. We would like to think that with the capacity of pedestrians and cars increasing significantly over the next 4 years, that the safety of the existing residents and the new ones would be given priority.
Thank you. Mrs. Randall, County Council.
Yes, thank you. This removal of condition 30 it's going to be a nightmare because those junctions are awful. And the one thing that actually we discussed as a town council was traffic improvements need to be made. As already stated, the Grange School is a capacity. She wrote in at the time that the school was capacity, so any children leaving that housing estate that aren't being driven are going to have to walk. The cars are queued back every morning. People are trying to dodge the cars. The junction is absolutely horrendous. As for the thing that I really couldn't understand was why ever London Road, Western Avenue was ever even stated on there. Because improvements to that junction or any widening would allow lorries to come onto the industrial estate. And the reason that we thought that was planned in that way was to send lorries round the link road so they would not come through town and they would use the appropriate roads. So the junction that we always wanted, and all local residents, we all know, and anybody who lives in that town knows how awful that junction is, that Daventry Road and Yeomanry Way junction improvement is vital for the housing development as well as the growing capacity for that college. And, you know, there is a lot of flooding along that road, and I have spoken to residents that have got pumps. They do have to pump out their garage. There is sewage that often bubbles up out of one of the drains further down. So to me, the removal of that condition 30 is, I'm totally against it and definitely needs to stay. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Mrs. Drummond. Mr. Dwayne, who's representing the applicant?
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm Chris Dwellman, Planning Manager of Avant Homes, the applicant. Further to our recent preserved matters approval for the college site, we are very much looking forward to commencing our development. Ahead of this, however, we need to gain clarification in relation to the off-site improvement work and also whether we can actually get on site to start in the context of the Section 106 agreement. When purchasing sites with outline approval, as a matter of course, we and our technical consultants do a full review of all relevant technical information that can inform the outline submission to ensure our subsequent reserve matters offers the absolute best design and layout response possible. In terms of the off-site junction improvements detailed as part of condition 30 of the outline approval, it came to our attention during reviews of the narrative of this process and also the technical sort of justification in relation to the TA that the requirements within the condition were potentially necessary. We are discussing the requirements in relation to the London Road and Western Avenue junctions via a separate application, and discussions are ongoing in relation to that with the County Council. The condition variation, which is what this application should be pointed out is at this stage, is not the removal of the overall condition that you have before you now, relates solely to the removal of the junction improvements requirement for Badbury Road West and Yeomanry Way Junction. With respect to this, as part of the narrative, we looked through sort of previous email correspondence and the technical requirement, and it became apparent that the actual requirement had been negotiated out as part of the previous outline approval and had been left on in error. And when we approached the Highways Authority, they confirmed this to us. We've subsequently lodged this application, and it's notable that Northamptonshire Highways were very meticulous in relation to their analysis of highways matters in the area, have not objected to this, and they've come to the same conclusions as our own consultants have. On the matter of the, accordingly, we've requested you support us in relation to our condition variation application. On the matter of the section 106 amendments in clause 7.9, this clause was previously included to ensure that the residential scheme could go ahead without the intrinsically linked college development being undertaken. Given that the college is now within a couple of months of completion, there is obviously no longer a risk of this happening. In relation to the amendment proposed, we are not looking to delete the clause, but vary it to restrict it to occupation of dwellings as opposed to commencement of construction. Accordingly, we would appreciate support to have this clause amended and allow us to set up our site compound and our on-site security within a time lapse between our staff and the college's site demobilisation. With regards to the amendment to the allowance for the provision of the leap off-site, this is in response to a request from the police liaison officer and planning officer at the time of the reserve matter, and we are open to change this if it is agreed in the best interest of the scheme. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Councillor Paul.
Thank you, Chairman. First and foremost, congratulations to Mrs. Lee. I don't know her, never met her. It's very nice that a local person comes along to a planning meeting and speaks their mind. I have to agree with every word that she said. I have to agree with every word that Councillor Randall, or in this case Mrs. Randall, represented the Town Council, has said. That is a horrendous junction. Traffic coming on Badbury Road West, unfortunately those photos don't show it to its worst extent. Traffic coming out of Yeomanry Way trying to access Badbury Road West. Traffic coming off of Western Avenue turning left into Badbury Road West trying to turn right into Yeomanry Way. Therefore it all starts blocking up. The people in Badbury Road West, when wanting to go straight across, I think in Northamptonshire indicators are optional extras on cars because, you know, very rarely do people use them. When I read the original traffic plan for this site, and the applicants were less than charitable coming forward, part of their traffic plan was to leave the site, travel north, pick up the M45 to travel south on the M1. That didn't give me a lot of confidence in their traffic plans, when we all know that you can poodle along to junction 16. However, not for the first time, we have issues with highways. Councillor Lomax, I understand, had issues at the last planning meeting. I think the crux of the matter is that NCC highways have no money. And I'd like to put that on record. And I think that determines some of their decisions. The A5 partnership group met last Friday, only to be told by Highways England that we'll do, we're getting a plan together for the A5 from Toaster through to the M4, the M6 link road. By the time we get the plan together and start doing things and that, it will be 20 years. Well, Mrs. Lee has already highlighted the fact there have been accidents on that junction. There has been air ambulance having to land. That picture alone shows the trees on that bend. Even a condition to take those trees away to improve the site. It is not rocket science that a roundabout, even a mini roundabout, but that piece of land where those trees are could be taken away and full view to everybody, a small roundabout could be put in there to safeguard everybody. Children are expected on their travel plan to either walk, because it's near, it's 1.25 miles to town, so children are expected, or students, I beg your pardon, are expected to walk to town or cycle to town. That's their route. It is horrendous junction. I will recommend that we go against officer's advice, but purely on this condition 30, Chairman, it should be taken out. Thank you.
Is that a proposal?
I would like to propose that we take out condition 30, Chairman.
You're aware of what the highways people are saying?
The Highways Agency, yes, I fight with them regularly. We have issues with them time and time again.
Highways Agency is different from Northamptonshire Highways.
Sorry?
That difference. A5 is the highway.
Yes, I know Highways England and the Highways Agency, but in this case, Highways have got it wrong. We need to remove that.
I happen to agree that, in my opinion, Yeomanry Way should never come through to Badley Road. That should be closed.
No, exactly.
Because you can get it another way. But, okay, you've got a proposal.
Yeah, tonight.
I've got it round the wrong way, I'm told, Chairman.
It sounds like
Keep it in. Retain it.
I want to retain the original condition.
Right.
Thank you, Councillor.
Right. Do you have a seconder for that proposal? Right, okay, Councillor. You're seconded. Would you like to speak now? Councillor Garth, sorry.
Does the officer want to speak first?
Yeah, I'm happy to hear what you've got, but I'd like to just say something about potentially the reasons why it's being recommended for refusal, because obviously the condition was imposed on highway safety grounds. They've come back to done some research, as you heard from the speaker, and it was actually put in error. The Highway Authority don't think it's required to do the junction improvement works to Yeomanry Way and Badley Road West, because it doesn't need to happen because the development won't impact or have a detrimental impact on that junction.
Well, considering that that is the main route from the college, which I am most concerned about, I don't have that much concern for the 130 houses that are there, because without a shadow of a doubt people will get in their cars and drive with the best will in the world. I do have problems with college students who don't have cars. It is on the applicant's travel plan that this is the walk into town route, this is the cycle into town route. I will argue tooth and nail that highways have, not for the first time, got it wrong. There needs to be road improvements at that junction.
Nevertheless, if the committee do refuse it for that reason, you've got to provide evidence that the highways are wrong.
Okay, so then we'll go back to the application for Yellowtoft with noise.
No, we're on this one, Councillor Paul.
Yes, I know. I'll go back to that one with regard to noise. When we employed a consultant, I would like to, if we are minded to go down this route, to have a traffic survey on that road. Purely and simply because it's a let's say it's an 18-hour road, you know, from 7 o'clock in the morning until 7 o'clock at night. That is when the traffic survey should be done. Not Sunday afternoon when somebody comes up from
answer.
Well, the Highway Authority look at every single application sort of on their own merits and with the information provided. And if they don't feel that report is not satisfactory, they will tell us, and they have done that on many occasions.
I agree.
Now they're saying what they have done is acceptable. The Highway Authority are telling you that as your consultee is the removal of that element, the Badby Road West and Yeomanry Way improvements are not required for highway safety. Therefore, if you do go against officers, as our chairman has pointed out, then we've got to provide evidence. Now, if we haven't got that evidence, we may be liable for costs if the applicant appeal against that decision, because we won't have that robust evidence.
Okay, so can we employ our own traffic consultant?
Well, the only thing is, Councillor Paul, you're aware the last time we approved a consultant, which was a Crick motorcycle, they agreed with the consultant.
Yes.
And the last time we...
I cannot.
Hold on a second. Last time we employed, and the only time, as far as I'm aware, in the last 10 years, that we've employed another consultant was at Kilsby, where again, and the application is on tonight, again he agreed with highways, so that...
Chairman, I cannot put a cost on children's lives. I cannot put a cost on students' lives.
Anyway,
you yourself know that junction. The people in Daventry know that junction. And air ambulance has been called. You know, and there are more accidents.
I've got what you're saying, Councillor Paul. If you win your proposition, we can talk about that, whether that's added to it or not.
Thank you.
All right? Now, Councillor Carr, you seconded it.
Yes, Chair.
You wish to say anything?
Yes, Chair. Yes, I will gladly second this, what Councillor Colin Paul's done, to retain Section 30. I mean, we're talking about where's the evidence, because the highways seem to have no objections. But just look at the statistics over the last few years. There's been many crashes there. I was a district councillor for the Drayton Ward for many years, and it was one of my biggest complaints and bugbearers was that junction. I'd seen car crashes there, near misses from school children, and all, many of the residents showed their concern to me. If you just look into the report, Condition 30 was imposed due to the following reason: in the interests of public and highway safety. Now you tell me, Chair, what's changed? Why take that restriction off? Nothing's changed in my view, and I think it's one of the, if not the most dangerous crossroads we have in Daventry, and I'll gladly second it.
But that was explained by the applicant's agent and by the planning officer why that has changed. Would you like to?
Yeah. Planning conditions aren't there to mitigate what already exists. Planning conditions are there to mitigate the impact of the development applied for. Now, if our highway authority are saying they think the impact of this development is fine, don't need the condition or the aspect of the condition relating to Badby Road West and Yeomanry Way, you'd have to listen to that.
Well, many times, Chair, as you well know, we see in there, and we can't believe it, seems unbelievable, where the highways not had any objections. And we all seem to think, many times planning applications come in, you yourself, Chair. I think one out Lombutby Way recently, and you couldn't believe it. They had no objection with that road.
I agree with what you're saying.
And this particular junction, Chair, no one's mentioned, is on a brow of a hill, and you cannot see the traffic coming over, and sometimes they come over there far too fast.
Okay, anyway, you've
Well,
seconded that.
part of that, isn't it?
I've got
Thank you,
Kath.
Chairman. If I could just interrupt you very briefly, Chairman. Going back to what Catherine just said in terms of conditions should be there to mitigate and address problems which are delivered by the proposal. They're not there to resolve problems which already exist. I also need to remind members of the tests which apply to conditions. And the very first test is that the condition needs to be necessary in respect of the proposal itself, not in respect of existing problems. It must also be relevant to the development committed. So having regard to those two particular tests and the comments of the Highway Authority, officers have resolved that condition, as it formally originally stood, is neither necessary nor relevant to the development committed.
Chairman, if I can come back briefly.
Well, I'll hold on to the end. There's a lot more people want to speak. Councillor Paul, you can have another chance as the main proposer. Right, Councillor Ed and then Councillor Ritchie.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm beginning to wish I hadn't told him he got it wrong. I agree with this one coming out. I agree with Officer's advice on this. That junction is busy, but most of the accidents don't happen on there. They happen that way. You can just see the signs on the bypass. On, not that photo, the next one, I think. Where's the next photo? That one. You can just see the signs. Yes. That's what used to be the A45, but now we've got a new one, so that's Western Avenue. That goes from Abbey North down to London Road. Abbey Road West is the one that crosses it. That, if you were on that junction, I'd say yes, it does need something, because that's where the accidents happen. In fact, when the air ambulance came down, that's where the accident was. It was a motorbike and a car, and the air ambulance came down at the top on Abbey Road on the Slade, because that was the nearest they could get. A lot of the accidents are there. This one is busy, yes, and the children do go down into town that way. But it's not the only way into town. I mean, people that come down there to get onto this road, 100 yards up there, there's another turn where they can go into town, or they can go down past the fire station. Sorry, half of you won't know where this is. And then brings you out onto that road. There is a bit of a hill on it, and they do come down more faster than they should, even though there's a 30-mile-an-hour limit on it now. It wants the police up there to try and catch a few out, and then they'll slow down a bit. But that junction isn't as dangerous as the other one. And seeing as it says in here that Highways didn't originally request any works on this one, and that's why they've no objection to having it taken out, I go along with what's being said.
Thank you. Councillor Ritchie.
Thank you. Well, I don't. I mean, I think the configuration of roads in this area, I think, is extraordinarily badly designed. You have the T-junction at the bottom of the Human Way, within not many yards of what is a bad crossroads where Daventry Road crosses Western Avenue. I know, well, I have seen near accidents and congestion where traffic that may be coming down Human Way, which is a main route for people who live on the north side of the Grange if they're travelling south. They're going to come down Human Way and then going to be faced with the difficulty of trying to get into Daventry Road West when you have a queue of traffic. And yes, that issue has always been there. But that issue is going to be made much worse by the fact that you have all these extra students attending a college, that you have 130 houses that are being built along there, so you have many more cars adding to what is already an area with a potential traffic problem. I just see that this is an issue that it should have been there. I think it was rightfully there in the original proposal. And I think it would be madness to try to take it out. I'm amazed that that difficulty is not recognised by Highways. I don't know what people's experience of dealing with them are, getting them there on site to actually explain what are the issues that local people have with this. I just feel it is so extraordinarily badly designed that, here is an opportunity. The problem's going to get worse. Let's make sure that that condition is retained so that we can see what we can do about it. Maybe it is very difficult, as Councillor Close suggests a many roundabout. I don't know if that's actually the answer. But, I feel that this is an opportunity for us to try to do something about that corner.
Okay. Councillor Fretchman.
Thank you, Chair. I mean, it beggars belief what NCC get up to. I mean, we often go against their advice when they refuse. So why we can't go against them when they don't refuse, then I don't understand that. It must work both ways. But picking up what Councillor Ritchie said, I was going to say is that any development there of the new college and all those houses is bound to add to the existing congestion, so that is why it is there. And I don't know the junction, but listening to the local people who do, it strikes me as it needs work doing to it to mitigate the effects of the new development. Because it's bad, it'll get worse. So that's why it should be kept in.
Thank you, Councillor Bradshaw. Councillor Olga.
Yeah, I'd like to also commend Ms Lee for her testimony. I was very impressed with that, what she said. My problem, I don't know the area, and I'm very suspicious of anecdotal evidence and assumption, because that isn't a good way to form policy. But what I can't get my head around is how the local authority were at one stage saying this was a public and highway safety issue, and then if you say, was it a mistake that they entered evidence that wasn't true, or they made an assessment that wasn't correct? How did it change? What you said they put it in by error, which how did that happen?
To be honest, I am not 100% sure why it was actually imposed in the first place. I was not the original case officer who dealt with the application, but from my understanding, from the comments originally received, or as part of the outline, there was negotiations during that process, and what it might have been, it was accidentally left on instead of being removed. However, it's clear that that element was left, or is an error, as recommended by, or as acknowledged by the local highway authority. So if they believe it's an error, then it's not required in highway safety terms. And also, the applicants, the current applicants, have undertaken or have got their own assessment from different to the original applicants, because they're totally different. Now, they have now decided, or they have shown, that it's not required on highway safety grounds. I'm not 100% sure, I'm not a highway expert, but obviously we're very much reliant on that advice that we are given.
And so are we, who don't know the area, and this is my concern. There must have been some public and highway safety issues raised for it to be in the negotiation in the first place. So where is that evidence? And it must still exist somewhere. And what were those concerns? Why was it even on the negotiation table? Somebody must have been concerned that this development was going to cause further safety problems in that area.
As I said, I do not know why it was put on in there in the first place, but it's clearly within the application details submitted for this variation of condition that it's not required due to highway safety. I'm not 100% sure why it was put on in the first place, but it is clear that highway authority considered it shouldn't have been put on in the first place.
Would you concede that there must have been some concern for it to be negotiated in the first
Maybe I
place?
can insist on this point. If there is an email between the highway authority and the previous applicants, which indicates there was a dispute regarding the traffic assessment, and there was a misunderstanding with regard to some of the conclusions, and as such it was originally requested as part of the highway authority's conditions However, following further clarification of the transport assessment conclusions, it was correct that that condition should have been, that condition should be removed.
So it wasn't error, it was just a disagreement.
There was a
Can
disagreement
I
regarding
just
the
say
transport
that
assessment
all those
conclusions.
emails are on the application on the website. Because I've read them.
Thank you for saying that. Councillor Irving Swift,
Well,
a legal matter.
I hate to interrupt Councillor Irving. If you are minded to go against the highways position, you do have to bear in mind quite a tricky little problem, and that is whatever solution is going to be achieved through the retention of condition 30 will require the opening up of the highway, and the highway is in the control of the Highways Authority. So you would then require the permission of the very authority that actually don't want any changes to that junction. Now, if you do that, you may retain the condition only to find that the Highways Authority won't allow for a Section 278 agreement or whatever to enable works to be done in that location. So you do have to bear that in mind if you want to retain condition 30, but in reality, the Highways Authority may just step down and say we don't want it.
Thank you. Right, Councillor Irving Swift.
Well, in fact, our lawyer has answered the question.
Okay, good, thank you.
So I will go with the officer advice.
Did you want to speak again, Councillor?
No, that was partly what I was going to say. All those emails are actually in the paperwork that's in with the application on the website, and
Okay.
Highways have apologised in one of the emails, said that it shouldn't have been there.
Okay, thank you. Right, Councillor Paul, I see.
Very briefly, Highways have sent an email and put their hands up, said they're sorry. I hope they're sorry. It's a very emotive statement, but I hope they're sorry when the next accident happens. However, highways have been proved wrong before. There was a statement, highways have no money. Ashby Road in town has been a bone of contention for many, many months and years, whether they would have a set of traffic lights to let the school children cross the road with 4 schools on the same road. Highway said it will cost in excess of £60,000. We haven't got the money to do it. And I think that is the crux of the matter. And I'm sure if the developer was anything community-minded, the developer would put forward improvements to that junction and get it through Highways. It was there in the beginning, it should be there in the end. If it doesn't go through tonight, I have done my best to stop it and get that junction improved, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Paul. Right, we have a proposal that the application be refused. So in other words, the part they want refusing is the removal of 30, isn't it?
That's it.
Or removal of the Babbey Road West.
Up to 30. And that's your proposal, isn't it? Removal of the Babbey West part.
That's it, right, West, Yeomanry Way Junction.
Not put.
He wants it retained, yeah.
Okay? Well, those have been seconded. All those in favour? Those against? Right, that is clearly lost. So I need another proposal now. Thank you, Councillor. And the proposal is?
That we follow officer's advice.
Thank you. Do you have a seconder? Sorry?
Councillor Irving Swift.
Councillor Irving Swift. Right, does anybody wish to speak on that? I think we've spoken both ways, so I don't think there's any need to have any more debate. Right, those in favour of that proposal, please show. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Those against? 3. Right, the application is approved as per officer's advice. Right, the next application is in Killsbury, and it's 0473.
Mr Chairman, the application site lies on the south-east corner of the village. The site location plan and southern boundaries bounded by the M45, the A361 on the western edge. The northern boundary shows an existing residential development of White Croft House and Maltmill Close. The open countryside extends to the east and the south beyond the application site and the M45. Members will recall the site benefits from outline planning consent, which established a principal development and access arrangements for the site. The grant of plan permission did not specify the number of units on the site, and the current application before us tonight seeks to approve for the outstanding reserve matters. The scheme before consideration tonight comprises of 48 units, and these involved are 16 5-bed properties, 10 4-bed properties, and 8 3-bed properties. 14 affordable units were secured on the site, and these comprise of 8 2-bed maisonettes, 1 2-bedroom bungalow, and 5 3-bed houses. The layout, as you can see from drawing, provides for an air of open space along a 361 frontage, dwellings being a mix of design types of traditional vernacular. The density of development equates to 22 units per hectare, which is not regarded as high nor out of keeping with the immediate area. Offers to satisfy the separation distance between property meets or exceeds of council standards, ensure the immediate occupiers are safeguarded. It's noticed that some representations have expressed a preference for dwellings to be sited close to the 361. However, the applicant has advised that the layout has to some extent been dictated by the need to provide flood attenuation measures, and it has been located at the northwest corner, being the lowest part of the site. In respect of landscape, noise, archaeology, crime and flood risk, it is considered that concerns have or can be addressed by the imposition of appropriate conditions. With regards to the housing mix, it's noticed the Parish Council remains have concerns the proposal will not meet the local housing needs survey. However, it should be noted that in considering this document, the examiner of the Killsbury neighbourhood plan set out that there is little justification of housing need, such that it provides a clear, robust evidence base on which to base land use planning policy. Furthermore, you'll see from the comments received from the local pasture team that they are satisfied with the proposed housing mix. Many representations have also raised highway safety. However, details of access were set out at the outline stage and approved. Members will recall that the advice of the independent highway consultant was sought and accepted by the planning committee. In regard to these matters set out in the report, the application is considered acceptable and the officer recommended it be approved, Chairman. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chairman. Again, 3 speakers. Mr Maguire is the first one who's against the application.
Thank you, Mr Chairman, councillors. I'm a long-time resident of Killsbury, and I live in the Banks, which is opposite the development there. So I'm very close to it and opposite the proposed development. I object to this planning application on road safety grounds. The proposed measures that the developers have introduced to address road safety issues are unsafe and inadequate, and I'll try to explain why. Just a bit of background first, as you can't see from that, but the development's a greenfield site. It's on the opposite side of the A361 to the main part of the village. As access to it is on the downhill section of the A361 as you enter the village from Daventry. Now, I think, as you all know, the 361 is a very busy road. It's got a high proportion of national and international HGV traffic travelling to and from the major local warehouses. That's dirt, but not exclusively dirt. It also provides a link between the M1 and the M40. As we all know, there's major expansions in progress in dirt. These are invariably going to cause substantial increases in the HGV traffic. Domestic traffic is also going to increase because of the housing development on the old rugby radio stations. Now, access to and from the proposed development is on the downhill section coming from Daventry. This is a 30-mile-an-hour limit. that the traffic speeds in this area are consistently well in excess of their speed limit. You don't need to take my say-so for that. This was confirmed by the traffic survey which was carried out prior to the granting of the outline planning permission. Now what the developers are proposing is to introduce a right turn Ghost Island junction for the north traffic, so in the direction you can see there. This clearly will not have any effect upon reducing speeds, and in fact it's likely it will have just the opposite effect. So I think there are two major concerns which I think and most of the residents of Kilsby have about this. The first concern relates to the danger for pedestrians who are going to have to attempt to cross the 361 from the new development. And at present the only provision for this is to provide a refuge in the centre of the 360. It's totally inadequate for the type and speed of traffic on this road. Pedestrians will range from mothers and babies, school children, able-bodied and disabled adults, and senior citizens. And in particular, one of the times of greatest traffic density is between 8 and 9 o'clock in the morning when the children are going to be going to school. I certainly want to stand on the refuge in the middle of the road as speeding juggernauts thunder by on each side. That's one concern. That could be eliminated by having a pedestrian crossing, light control pedestrian crossing. The second concern is that the access to and from this site is displaced by 20 yards or so from the existing access on the other side of the road from the banks. That's going to inevitably lead to accidents. The solution in that case would be to have a roundabout with the access to and from the banks and from this development accessing that roundabout. The space
could you
yes, there is space available not on the development side but on the other side of the road to do that. Both of these measures would actually introduce traffic calming, which is very important. So in conclusion, I reiterate my objection to this because of the very important road safety dangers. However, if we introduced a crossing and a roundabout, there would be no reason to make the objection. So finally, I'd just like to ask you all to consider, when you're making your decision, to consider whether would you be content to allow your nearest and dearest to cross the road with the present proposals? Just think on that.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I think we need to point out that the access was dealt with at the outline stage, so that is not up for discussion, I'm afraid. So that was dealt with. This is the detail stage, so we can't discuss that again. We can't alter that at this time. Right, we have a second speaker, which is Mr. Dunn from the Parish Council.
Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen of the Planning Committee, my name is Reg Dunn. I'm the Chairman of the Kilsby Parish Council. The Parish Council wish to object to the application before you on laying off the Daventry Road, Kilsby, which is Reserve Matters application for construction of 42 dwellings. The parish know that this site has already obtained outline permission for building, but the Reserve Matters application before you is not for 40 dwellings listed on the original outline permission, but for 48 dwellings, a 20% increase. The parish of Kilsby is one of the few parishes in the district which has an adopted neighbourhood plan in place. One of the issues raised as part of the neighbourhood plan was that there is a need for bungalows and smaller homes in the parish. The applicants want to build 26 houses of 4 and 5 bedrooms, and although they have amended the application to include 14 affordable homes, one of which is a bungalow, the parish do not feel that they have more than half the houses on the site as large as 4 and 5 bedroom family homes is following the wishes expressed in our adopted neighbourhood plan. Policy K3 states that residential development will be supported within the existing confines of the Kilsby village, but the proposal should be by size, height, massing and density which is sympathetic to the character of the surrounding area, to provide safe access, be accessible to local facilities by walking and cycling. Please can you put up the amended layout if you can please for me.
Sorry, you what?
The drawing.
The drawing, please, if you may.
Thank you very much. You can see now that the relationship of the 361 is up there. You will see that any car coming out of the junction opposite the entrance to the site and turning towards Daventry will have to drive over the hatched area of the turning lane into the site. Also coming out of the site towards the A5, it will have to cross 2 lanes of traffic. There is a footpath on the site running from plot 10, but it just peters out and does not join up with any other footpath. We don't know what that's there for. The residents of Kilsby are also very concerned that this site, with its large family homes and therefore children, can only walk into the village of Kilsby by standing on a refuge in the middle of the road. The A361 is heavily used by HGV traffic, which travels very fast down into the village. They will now find that there are people standing on a refuge in the middle of the road. The national average for HGV traffic is 14% of all traffic. The A361 average for HGV traffic is 18% or over 18% of all traffic. Please consider carefully whether you want to see mum with a toddler and a buggy standing in the middle of the A361 with lorries passing either side of her. We're really afraid that someone will be killed. If you are minded to grant this application as it stands, then please include a condition that makes it safer by making the developers put in a crossing controlled by traffic lights or get them to move the entrance to the site down and include a roundabout which will be opposite the road that leads into the village now, and ensure that pavement links to the existing network so that people can walk safely backwards and forwards. Bearing in mind that the school is in the village on the other side of that A361. At the moment there is no access. A representative from Evelyn Homes, yes, certainly. A representative from Evelyn Homes came to talk to the parish council. We explained his concern to him. He made the right noises, walked away, did nothing but produced that, which is no good to anyone at all. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you, sir. Right, Mr. Dwayne is the applicant's agent.
Me again, sorry. Thanks for the opportunity to speak again. Just a quick point, the footpath going from plot 10, that's not a footpath, that's just an indication of the location where the drain will run from the field behind, so that was for the benefit of the sort of neighbouring landowner. Through the Reserve Matters submission response, it is our aim to prepare and deliver a development that will form a major asset to the village and the wider district. It is a general approach that has recently proved successful in gaining Reserve Matters approvals at sites of the Northampton College, which we discussed earlier, and also Salisbury Landscapes in Moulton, and we would welcome the Council's support again in this instance. We know from the relevant consultation responses received in respect to our application, and particularly from the Parish Council, there are certain aspects queried in relation to our scheme. However, we want to assure you that the scheme you see before you is formed from a very considered approach, taking into account the key opportunities and constraints affecting the site and the wider aspirations from a policy perspective. With respect to the access, this was fixed as part of the outline approval, and so we cannot revisit it as part of this Reserve Matters application, which is dealing solely with the detailed layout of the application site. That said, it should be noticed that the approved access design was a result of extensive consultation at the time of the outline submission, and our own transport consultants have reviewed the relevant design solution and confirmed it as appropriate. Having said that, we are undertaking further safety audits as part of our ongoing Section 38 and 278 preparation processes, and should these highlight any improvements as necessary in relation to the final design, these will be actioned through subsequent condition discharge or by way of formal amendment if they are too much of a departure from the existing approved scheme. Please be assured the safety aspect of the access design solution is of paramount importance to us as it is to you and the Council. In the case of the mix, and first taking into account the 40 plots that the Parish Council have raised, there was never a restriction placed on the outline at any stage. There was just an indicative master plan, and that's where the 40 units came from. Subsequent to our initial submission of 42 units, discussion of meetings with both the Parish Council themselves, where they raised concern about the mix, and then subsequent meetings with key officers of the district helped identify that our original mix varied from their aspirations. We have accordingly rectified this through scheme revisions whereby we have significantly reduced the number of 4 and 5 bed plots and significantly increased the 2 and 3 bed provision. From an affordable provision perspective, as part of the 14 plots, we are also notably including 5 properties suitable for elderly persons, a direct response to the referred housing need as identified by the housing needs study for the village and this neighbourhood plan. This is through property types which we have developed specifically for this scheme to ensure that we can meet with the defined need. Essentially, we've listened to the parish council and the district officers, and we've factored in our own market research outcomes and general scheme viability considerations to get a mix that have been agreed and substantially negotiated with officers and viewed as appropriate in the context of national, local and neighbourhood policy. In terms of the design itself, we're mindful of the village fringe location and the importance the site will portray in the street scene. I've endeavoured to produce a layout accordingly. Given the aforementioned considered approach, we would welcome your support backing the opposite recommendation in this instance to improve the reserve matter scheme and allow us to provide the proposed development in a manner that fits the site, village and wider rural fringe.
Thank you, sir. Local members?
Thank you, Chair. If you don't mind, Catherine, may I go first, just to, because otherwise you'll
You have the right to go first anyway.
Thank you, Chair. Basically, I was going to say that I've read the entire thing, and I think that the parish have made some very good points here. Particularly the ones about hiding the whole scheme behind a vegetative buffer. They don't particularly want that because they want it to be part, and they don't really accept that this has got outline permission. They want this to be part of the village, and hidden away as it is, it becomes an enclave, and I feel that they're quite right. That the development should be made to look more like it's part of the village. Also, that would improve the fact that the increased traffic would be able to see it a little better, perhaps. I'm not an expert on the matter. Road safety is also an important concern, particularly with the mix of housing, because there are going to be a considerable number of children involved here, and there is no direct footpath control to this site, apparently. And what else have they said? There's no footpath cycle links, which I've already mentioned. The boundary treatment is not exactly what the parish want, and again they've made a number of suggestions which I think should be noted. The cattery owner, which apparently is right next door to this, wants to be clear that the noise from that establishment could, well, if with this layout, cause complaints from people of that layout. Now, I know that generally speaking, when those sort of complaints are made, you take into consideration who was there first, but nonetheless, we have to try and make the thing fit for everybody. The only one I disagree with, in fact, out of the 6 points they've made, is the mix, and I think the housing mix has to be determined by the developer, really, even though we put our stamp on that. And there's quite a large proportion of what we consider to be acceptable housing. So, in general, I think that we should not accept this proposal. I think we should, in fact, and I'm going to propose right now, that we do not accept officers' advice, and we reject it on the grounds that it doesn't have the correct. It isn't, the words I'm looking for, it is not designed to fit in properly with the village, and there'll be a word for that.
Connectivity.
Second?
Connectivity.
Connectivity, right.
Do you have a seconder for that?
I don't know yet. Sustainability, yeah.
Is that a seconder, Councillor Ritchie? Right, would you like to speak now before the local member speaks, or?
Well, I think the local member.
Okay. Councillor Lomax.
I think the case has already been put very well against this application. What I would remind you of is that when you first dealt with the application as an outline, it was deferred for consultation by a highways expert, who then returned to this committee, and in spite of being told by the consultant, which had been brought in by the district council, and he told us that the average speed going south was 34 miles an hour, and the average speed going north was 38 miles an hour. Well, when I last looked, that was actually breaking the law. And in spite of that, and knowing that we were going to have a lot more cars trying to get onto the 361, which is a red route, you know, I'm afraid that you thought that the access was fine and that the arrangements for children and pedestrians and wheelchairs and buggies and all sorts of things crossing the road were perfectly satisfactory. Well, I don't think it was satisfactory, and so I would absolutely concur with everything that's been said by Highway Safety. We said a lot about the Highway Authority this evening, and I'm afraid that I believe that they have got it wrong. Whatever arrangement should be made, it isn't the right one that we've got now. There's one other point that I want to make, and that is about the design and layout of what they have now. Yes, it is. Now look at that. First of all, I think you can see for yourself that that is a thoroughly suburban layout, which has nothing to say about this is a village. The first plans that we saw were actually slightly better. The other thing about it is you will see that the affordable housing is shoved in the corner. Let's get rid of them. Let's not look at them. You know, and is that right? This is what's happening all the time, and it's not right. It isn't right. But the last thing I want to say about it is the design of the houses. They're off the shelf. You haven't shown any of them. If you could show some of the houses. There is no attempt whatsoever for these houses to give any sort of feel of being part of Kilsby Village, except that some of the 5-bedroom houses have got Northampton stone facing. That's all. But the rest of them, bog standard, anywhere, any town.
Agreed. Thank you, Councillor. Right, back to you then, Councillor Ritchie, for the second. You seconded the proposal.
Yes. Let me not repeat a lot of what has been said by Councillor Lomax and by others. I find myself in the position that of all the points that have been made by the parish council, my proposer didn't like the one regarding the mix of housing sizes. To me, that is actually the most important one. I've got in front of me just one page from the Kilsby Neighbourhood Development Plan, and in housing, it is there. It's the objective to ensure that the proposals are proportionate in scale and provide a range of different types and size of accommodation to meet the needs of the local community. Well, if you look through the neighbourhood plan, a lot of it concerns the desire of people in Kilsby actually to downscale in terms of house sizes. And yet we have got a scheme in which 16 of the houses, admittedly not the 18 that were there before, but 16 are going to be 5-bedroom, compared with only one that will be 1-bedroom. I agree too that with Councillor Lomax that surely we should be objecting to schemes where affordable housing is marginalised. It is pushed onto the periphery of sites. It is all gathered together in case it somehow contaminates the market value of neighbouring properties. It's interesting that we can't challenge the fact that it is only 29% that is affordable housing, because that was the figure that I understand was in place at the time that the planning permission was given. But nevertheless, if you actually look in terms of the number of bedrooms, there is no change. The scheme may have moved from 42 to 48 houses. The number of affordable bedrooms remains at 32. I just feel that just does not seem adequate. And given the comments that are there in the plan, I just feel that, to suggest that the developers want to have 16 5-bedroom houses and 10 4-bedroom houses. It doesn't seem to be a scheme that is aimed as the neighbourhood plan requires to meet the needs of the local community. This means, I just see this as a configuration of house sizes that is there to meet the needs of the developer.
Thank you. Right, Councillor Freshman next.
Thank you, Chair. Looking at it now, I would say that in retrospect, when we had the original outline, there was some mistakes made there where we looked at the road safety aspect. But I think part of the problem at the time was that we didn't have a 5-year land supply. I can't remember. We did.
No, we didn't.
We did. So actually, it's one of those that snuck in, which otherwise we may have objected to and would have not approved at that stage. But looking at things like the MPPF, I can't see how this has the sustainability element built into it. It's not connected to the village. There's no easy access to the village. You have to probably drive to get anywhere within the village or any other access the resources that are required. I also pick up the point that the affordable housing is shunted to one side. There's no pepper potting under any circumstances there. Whatever anyone might say, that is not pepper potting. And also picking up the point that Councillor Lomax said, I think the vernacular of the buildings is very poor for a village environment, and if nothing else, the look of the houses needs to be revisited to make them more villagey, if that's the right description. I can't think of a technical term for that. So I think overall that this development just lacks any imagination. The applicant's agent is here. He's obviously listening to what we're saying, and I think that it would be very community-minded of them when this goes through at whatever stage, that they look more closely at a pedestrian crossing and that they offer themselves to put this in, whatever highways may say, because I think that it's the least that their prospective customers deserve in the way of road safety. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor French. Councillor Robertson.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to come back on the comments that my second have made. Basically, the reason I didn't want to press the mix of housing particularly is because I believe that the developer has a commercial decision to make on that basis and on that subject. And we've already made our points at the actual planning application stage, which I don't think I was here for. In fact, no, I wasn't. So that was my entire rationale in not supporting that one particular thing, but I do support everything else.
Through you, Chairman, if I could quickly answer a number of queries being raised. We want to talk about the proposed access and the refuge for pedestrians. Within the outline application, Condition 16 does actually refer to the access and specifies a drawing, and that drawing and the access before us tonight is consistent with that drawing on the outline. So in terms of highway safety, those issues shouldn't be reconsidered tonight in terms of assessing whether or not the refuge for pedestrians raises a highway or pedestrian safety issue. Again, that should not be reconsidered tonight. It should not be revisited. Members accepted within the previous planning committee that the advice of the independent planning consultant and in accepting that independent consultant's advice, a condition was placed on the outline to specify that type of junction, that type of refuge was actually formed part of the outline consent. So that's the first issue I'd like to raise. In terms of the upper limit, there was an indication that 40 houses were indicated. there was no upper limit on the outline planning consent. In actual fact, the actual decision notice only referred to outline planning consent for residential development with access on the A361 and indicated drainage, infrastructure, landscaping, public open space. So again, there was no upper limit, so there was nothing specified as to the number of units. And quite often the number of units is dependent upon the character of the area as well. In a place where there is higher density in immediate character, then there is an ability to accommodate a higher density. And again, where the density is lower with the local character, then any proposed development should reflect that local character again. There's been some talk about any proposed landscaping conditions, and I sympathise with some elements of what the parish council is saying that they want this proposal to be part of the village, and at present the layout does indicate that there is a retention of that high of the hedge and the planting along the A361. However, for me, I'm not sure how that's going to work with the visibility display which is required for the approved access. But if we look at the conditions which are within the recommendation tonight, condition 5 does actually require the submission of details relating to landscaping, and as such you may find that that buffer which the parish council are talking about will be removed and allowing the proposed development to be more open to the remainder of the village itself. And again, there are some concerns we get raised from the cattery next door, and again, condition 8 of the recommendation seeks to address boundary screening details in relation to the cattery. I also know that in actual fact, cattery raise very little noise issues, and I'm sure Paul is here to confirm that to me, to members tonight. And there were some concerns regarding the design of the dwellings, and they don't fit in with the local character of the area. This is an example of the dwelling within Kilsby on the other side of the road. So, from officers' point of view, given the character of the dwellings within the immediate area, we don't feel that the proposal would be significantly out of character of what's already there. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Next speaker is Councillor Paul.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I said all I said the first time round about road safety, the 361. I'm not going to repeat that, that's not part of it. I don't have a problem with the number of 4 and 5 bed houses on site. However, it is so imaginative and hardly an advert for Advent homes. It's a boring plot. It doesn't have connectivity with the village. I would have expected more for 4 or 5 bedroom homes than what has actually been seen. And I would hope that the developer will go away and go back to the drawing boards and bring some different design in, but that's my only comment.
Thank you. I think we've got to the point of vote now. We've got a proposal that the application be refused, which has been seconded. Can you give me the reason again?
I think it's called sustainability. Connectivity and sustainability.
Even though that can be altered at the next stage.
I would suggest due compliance with the housing provisions of the neighbourhood plan.
Oh, you're the... Sorry? Oh. Yeah, okay, Jen. Would you like to comment on that?
I would, Chairman. There has been obviously some discussion regarding the mix of the proposed dwellings. You'll see that the local strategy team, which we have an affordable housing officer, they stress that they are actually satisfied with the proposed mix of houses which have been presented before us tonight. So they've indicated that they are satisfied with the proposed mix. Furthermore, within the examiner's comments regarding the Kilsby neighbourhood plan, they have specifically made reference to that particular policy, and they've said that there is little justification of housing needs such that it provides a clear robust evidence base on which to base planning policy. There's a clear indication there within the examiner's report with respect to that element of the local plan.
Okay, let's be clear again, Councillor.
Sorry, could I just confirm, does that mean the examiner said they can't do that or they can do that?
What's there said that there is no clear evidence on
So,
that particular
no, I'm not
house.
asking that. I said, as he said, have they got to take it out of the plan or
It
not?
means that they had to reword it so it wasn't so prescriptive.
And what's the new wording?
I believe the new wording encourages mixed developments. New wording states the delivery of a range of housing types in 10 years to meet local need will be supported. Provision of smaller houses, flats and bungalows will be particularly welcomed.
Yes, well, that wasn't actually part of my proposal,
Right, let's have your proposal again. Are you clear, officers, what the proposal is or not?
I believe Councillor Robertson said that was not part of his proposal.
No, that's correct. As I said earlier, the mix of housing is not what concerns me. It's the actual connectivity to the rest of the village, and how it doesn't.
So that's still your reason then?
In terms of planning reason, I need help here.
Okay.
Can I just ask some clarification on that? In terms of connectivity, are we referring to pedestrian connectivity?
Well, no, it's
layout.
not so much that. It's
The layout.
the whole site does not look as if it is part of Kilsby Village, in my opinion.
Do you mean the first part where it's all green and it's showing?
Well, that's
green?
one of the issues, I suppose. There's no footpath connecting to the village. Now, that might be a highways matter which has already been determined. I don't know. I just do not like the fact that this development creates a separate enclave. Councillor Lomax put it very well when she said this is a suburban development. It's not a village development.
Okay. Do you still second that with that wording?
I would be much happier if the proposal were prepared to say, too, that there is an issue of insufficient weight being given to the provisions of the neighbourhood plan, which has been accepted. I feel back from the section that was written out, that seemed to me to be very clear.
That's not being said, though, unfortunately. Do you still second the main reason why?
Well, as I am opposed to it, I will second it,
Okay.
even if on the basis of these other reasons.
Thank you. So we have a proposal that the application be refused for that reason, connectivity to the village.
Could I have clarification via our lawyer? Because, sorry to put you on the spot, Simon.
It's normal.
Right, Simon, do you want clarification?
From what I understand of what Councillor Robertson is proposing, although he's using connectivity, it is directly in the context of the appearance of the site. The appearance of the site, as proposed by the developers for their reserve matters application, creates, by virtue of its design, a suburban feel, a setback feel, because you've got this green sward right in front of the road, which detaches it from the community. That's my understanding. So essentially, this is an EN42 objection to the reserve matters application and the appearance in its current form.
I accept that. So therefore, we now have.
So therefore, it's not connectivity, it's more of the design.
Okay.
Okay.
So
That's just
Sustainability.
Yeah. Right, planners, have you got that?
Also, I was looking at the connectivity in regards to the layout and its relationship with the remainder of the village.
Yeah. Okay. That proposal is proposed and has been seconded that we refuse it for that reason. All those in favour, please show. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Those against? 1, 2, 3, 4. The application is refused for that reason. The next application is in Arlington, 064. Okay.
I'm
Can you take your time, gentlemen,
Thank you, Chairman. Members will recall this site in which Planning Commission was refused for 3 pairs of brick piers in the Arvingworth parish. The applicants appealed and the appeal was dismissed due to the impact on the special landscape area and the character of the open countryside. Since the appeal decision, the applicant has been in negotiations with officers and removed 2 pairs of the brick piers and now has left a single piers which are subject to this planning application. Circumstances have altered since the previous decision, such as the applicant has now constructed post and rail fences and a 5-bar wooden gate. These have been constructed under permitted development rights. Compared with the other locations, the site is set back with hedgerows and nearby residential properties. Therefore, the impact on the wider locality is reduced compared to the other more rural character of the other locations.
£10 to the chairman.
I don't think it's appropriate to grass up Councillor Irving Swift at all. Anyone that does mention her name needs to be sort of rebuked.
I'm sure that Cecile will...
It was Arabic.
It's cost you money, Cecile.
Sorry.
Sorry, carry on, officer.
Yeah. So compared with the other locations, as you can see, there's residential properties to the left and also very good screening to the other side and also both sides. So the impact on the wider locality is reduced compared with the others. We, as officers, have taken the view of the appeal inspector's decision that it was more the overall impact, the cumulative impact of all the piers, whereas now we're just looking at these piers in front of us, not the others. So in terms of this particular location, given that it's set back from the road, officers consider this is now acceptable and it's recommended for approval. Thank you, Chairman.
I think as Councillor Irving Swift stated, Rob, you can go first.
Mr. Speaker.
Sorry, yeah. Oh, yeah. Thank you very much for reminding me. Miss Mitchell is an agent. I do apologise.
Okay.
I always make a move like this, don't worry.
Good evening, Chairman and councillors. My name is Fiona Mitchell and I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to speak on behalf of the applicants. The Planning Office report refers to a previous appeal decision which related to 3 sets of piers, 6 piers in total. The inspector considered the merits of the appeals cumulatively, i.e. the impact on the countryside of all 6 piers. The inspector did not consider the merits of the pairs of piers on an individual basis. Unlike the other 2 sets of piers, which were situated on the open byway, this pair of piers is situated some 30 metres off the public highway. Their context adjoins woodland on the right and on the left-hand side a detached dwelling with a post rail fence. In my submission, the pair of piers which frame a traditional 5-bar gate are appropriate in this localised context. They are not prominent to view, they are not discordant features in this localised setting, and are recessively situated, and, as your planning officer states, this pair of piers does not distract from the special landscape area. On this basis, and in consequence of this proposal being quite distinct from the appeal before the inspector, I hope members will support your officer's recommendation of approval. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, Councillor Olga, you can go first because of the phone bill.
Thanks very much. You know, this is one of, it's subjective as to what is adversely affects and what does not adversely affect, especially with regard to special landscape areas. You know, I have a vision of country areas and country lanes and what country lanes look like, and for me, these pillars do not conform to that. They don't. They're not in character with this particular setting and with the country setting in general. Had that been a stately home with similar brick walls, etc., you could understand. But they are particularly, I think, yes, that's a good word. And then to try to mitigate that, some white fencing has been put in its place or next to it. So my proposal is, and I know it's subjective, but it is supported by some of the general policies about not adversely affecting special landscape areas, and also EN1, which is adversely affecting the character of the local. You know, I do feel it is a bit of a blot on the landscape. I know that's a personal opinion. I know that's supported by the parish, and I know it's subjective, and I know my colleagues within this committee are far more experienced in these things than me, and they have another opinion. But I would like to propose that, although the officers do an absolutely fantastic job, and they always do, I disagree with them on this issue, and I would like to propose that we go against officers' advice on this one and refuse the application.
Do you have a seconder? Oh, my gosh, what a surprise. Councillor Irving first.
Yes, I'm sorry for the noise. I was trying to see the appeal on my iPad, and I had a
It went
YouTube
off,
on
didn't it?
about something very different, but from the sublime to the ridiculous sometimes. I was looking at something about Syria before, so sorry for the interruption. Now, I know it's a very small matter. It's about 2 pillars, but the parish have expressed their opposition, and I will try to explain why. It was an appeal decision on the 8th of March, and on the appeal is dismissed, and the planning inspector go to the point B, point C, and point D, where was the various part of where the pillars were. Also, when he visited the site, the gate and the fences was already erected, and he said it is not part of the appeal. So the planning inspector, if he would have been minded, could have agreed that 2 piers stayed and the third, because it was a bit farther in, could have stayed, because sometimes we cannot, but planning inspector can have split decision where we are not allowed. Also, the planning inspector said even something more important. He had in the appeal, he says that the pier, on top of being incongruous, will not age well due to their construction. So you have incongruity now on the appeal, plus that the piers, due to the materials they were constructed in, will not blend in with time. And so the purpose of the piers was to link the estate together. And now, so 4 piers have disappeared and 2 piers are there. So those piers link nothing to nothing. I know they are less obvious, so I will vote against this, but I will understand if other people vote otherwise. Nevertheless, I will like to say that when we have an appeal, we back our officer, and it's so clear that the appeal was just in March this year, I feel very uneasy to go against, even if it's for just a part of an appeal. Again, so I will propose that we go against Officer things, and maybe drop a bit of the appeal decision and just go for EN 42 reason against.
You're not proposing.
You're not proposing.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
So I have second.
No, you're choosing this time.
Right.
Sorry.
Okay, the next speaker is Councillor Fretchman.
Thank you, Chair. I tend to agree with my colleagues. I think these look very inappropriate in a rural area. I think the design of them is very incongruous, and just because they may be set back and can't necessarily be widely seen, as we've seen with other buildings where we've refused things that are a private benefit, not a public benefit. And I think the phrase is that less than substantial harm. I get confused as to what that actually means.
That's for, sorry, 3
Yeah, but it's the same difference, isn't it, in terms of the way they are presented to us and the way that you've presented the report, that they do cause harm. It's a question of the level of it, and I think that the design of them is singularly inappropriate for the rural location that they're in.
Thank you. Officer, you wish to say something?
Yeah, in sense with the recommendation for the sort of reasons for refusal, whereas I know, yes, it is very subjective.
Yeah.
However, regarding special landscape areas, sort of considering these are very much more, these ones do not cause as much an impact on the wider locality, rather they are causing more harm to the immediate character. So potentially you may want to use, as Councillor Irving said, EN 42,
Yeah.
potentially GN2.
Yeah, I'm happy with that. I had a number of policies, say policies that I looked at, and I'm quite happy with the N42. It's about blending within the site and within the surroundings. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for your advice.
Councillor Paul, next.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I was on the Charabang ride when we went round, and I totally agree with local members that the 4 that were removed were absolutely hideous, stuck out in the middle of nowhere. However, these are surely far enough off the highway, and do we really need to object? I don't. I'm open-minded, but the other 4 I totally agree should have been taken down, stuck on the corners of roads, totally inappropriate. I think if you took the lids off the top of the pillars, would they be any more attractive? Are they any different to lots of farm gates that are built without planning permission? I think they're far enough off the highway not to even worry about.
Thank you, Councillor Paul. Councillor Evans?
Well, if I didn't know better, I think he'd read my mind because he said virtually everything I was going to say. I was on that planning tour as I was on that planning tour as well, and the other 4 were right on the grass verges, and they stuck out like well, yeah, and they were just ridiculous because there was nothing else there. These, I'm quite happy with these. Anybody going past on the road won't see these because, for one thing, they'll be travelled past so fast they won't look up there. They're far enough back so they're not causing a problem. The fencing and that they've put round, I think, takes off the starkness of what was just a colour on its own. It gives them now, makes them look more homely. And you've got it right next to a building, a garage and a house anyway. So I don't have a problem with this.
Okay. If there's no more comments, we have a proposal the application be refused for the given reasons. 42, wasn't that?
Yeah, 42. Which is
seconded. All those in favour, please show. 4. Those against? 7. So that fails. Now we need one the other way, don't we? Mr. Solicitor?
Entirely, I've never seen any need for this at all. I think you're perfectly okay with what's been marked.
Okay. Well, the legal advice is we don't need another vote for, so the application is approved. Okay? Right, the next one is...
Sorry, Chair, can you just double check that for all other planning applications we normally have to do due process?
Yes.
So I've never understood why you do that.
But we might be setting precedent here, I'm just a bit worried about
complete obverse of what you've decided. So if you haven't, I mean, you can take the vote to approve it as a matter of form, but that's the obvious of it.
I don't know about you, Chair, but I just think that's the convention here that we,
You're alone within Northampton to do this, but if you want to do it,
because I think changing something now just on that issue might be a bit odd for the people that may be listening, especially on this case.
Okay,
interest.
right, okay. Well, you've heard the legal side. Maria thinks the same as you, so I'm stuck in the middle. So just to make sure that we go somewhere, can I have a proposal that the application be approved? Thank you. A seconder? Thank you, Councillor Paul. All those in favour, please show. 7. Those against? 4. Okay, so
Could I propose that we solve that problem once and for all at one point?
I've consistently advised on that. You're alone within Northampton.
Okay.
Yeah, but we like to be.
We will solve it before the next meeting.
Yes. Thank you.
Right, now we have a traditional one that comes in very regular from different houses. 00666 in Armley.
Thank you, Chairman. The application decides a 2-storey, 70-detached post-war estate dwelling finished in brick made with tile. You'll see from the report the first floor single-storey extension to the side and a detached garage to the rear. The main issue is the impact on the street scene itself. The 2 elements of the proposal are considered to be subservient to the main dwelling, and a sufficient area of garden will be retained to the rear. There are several examples of single-storey side extensions of similar design and scale to other properties within the estate, most notable being at ordinance 14 and 21. Overall, this design extension is considered to be acceptable in scale and design, not out of in the street scene. Proposed garage will be adjacent to another garage, which serves number 56. And as there are several examples within the unit area, we don't think that the proposal would be detrimental to the street scene as stated by the parish council. As such, I recommend it be approved, Chairman.
Thank you. We've all seen these before. Right, 2 local members, do you wish to speak, Councillor Lomax, on this one or not?
Briefly, very briefly.
Yeah, briefly.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Thank you, Chairman.
I've put you in.
I remember some years ago there was an appeal on similar extension, but on the, in his judgment, the inspector referred to the coherence of the estate. I think one thing that is happening, rather unfortunately at Onley, and the layout may be suburban, but it's what the prison department built. And I think what is happening now is the coherence is actually being lost, and the uniqueness of the setting is being lost. This is actually very similar to 2 previous applications which have been approved, and I'm not sure that you can do anything else, but it does actually impinge on the street scene, bringing the house much closer to the pavement and therefore almost creating, for pedestrians at least, a pinch point. And I think we ought to resist as far as we can any more of these developments, because what we'll have at Omni Park eventually is a total hodgepodge. The other comment I want to make is about the garage. I don't think 0.7 of a metre is a small amount, personally. I mean, that's about, what is it, 25 inches, 20 inches? What is it? Something like that. But I don't see why it shouldn't actually, the height of the garage shouldn't fit in with what we already accept as permitted development. Thank you.
I think it's really significant that the Onley Park Residents Association have not responded here. They're obviously not too worried about it. The parish council, which council Lomax is a member, haven't had a lot to say really, and this is a household thing. I basically propose that we approve, that we accept officers' advice.
Thank you. Do you have a second? Councillor Irving Swift, thank you. Everybody else wishes to speak? Paul, you do wish to speak, sir?
Yes, I want to draw members' attention that at the top of page 96 there's a bullet point from a neighbour. Provision of a drop curb will impact on neighbouring houses by reducing on-street parking. That's on the presumption that no one will be as inconsiderate as to park next to a drop curb, if only it were true.
We need your expertise in that area, Councillor Chaplin. Right, we've got a proposal, the application be approved and it's been seconded. All those in favour, please show. Unanimous, I think. Oh, I didn't see Councillor Richards' arm. Yes, unanimous. The application is approved. Right, the next two applications are one is a listed building, one on consent and one is So what we'll do is we'll debate the two together and then I'll need separate proposals for both of them, okay? Over to you, officers.
Thank you, Chairman. This is the site in Clawson, the old rectory, and it is a Grade 2 listed building. The proposal is for listed building consent and planning permission for a sunroom. The property has had a 2-storey extension in 1988. This is not a positive addition to the existing dwelling. You can see these through the photos. The proposed sunroom will be located off this modern extension. Section 66 of the Planning and Listed Building Act states the local planning authority shall have special regard to the desirability of preserving the building or its setting. It is considered the proposal does not preserve the designated heritage asset and it will result in some harm. As a result of that harm, the benefits have to be weighed against the harm. In this case, the proposal does not contain any public benefit, it is only private benefit for the occupants of the existing building. The benefits of the proposal therefore do not outweigh the harm caused. Yes, the building is set back from the main road with a footpath running along the access track, and although the fees are limited, the impact on the designated heritage asset still needs to be taken into account, regardless if you can see it or not. The application is there, or the applications are therefore recommended for refusal. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, sorry. Right, we've got a speaker, which is Mr. Smith, who's the agent. If you'd like to speak on both of them, sir, we'll give you along to 3 minutes, all right?
As possible. Yeah. Thanks, Chairman, for letting me speak. The old rectory, as I said, is a Grade 2 listed building. It's generally linear in form and it falls 3 sections. To the east section, it's 17th century. In the midsection, it's 19th century, very late 19th century. And on the western end, it's 1985 or 1998. The extension, the only reason the house is listed is the 17th century part. The 19th century part isn't of good enough quality, there's not enough good finish inside it. It's a fairly basic piece of build with also it doesn't have any extending qualities to make it worth listing in the 19th century. The 20th century extension, as you know, if you leave that photograph there, you can see it's got a garage door, which doesn't do any favours. Part of the proposal, the small garden room on the end there, is to replace the garage door with masonry and an appropriately designed window. There's concerns about the nature of the garden room. Call it a garden room, not a sunroom. It's deliberately light in design, it's deliberately modest in scale, it is an add-on to the building rather than a full-on extension. It sits on the end. You won't see the garden room with the rest of the building in one view unless you're in a very southwest corner of the garden up by the sheds. It's a very modest extension, very lightweight, very small, fits on the back. It follows a long pattern of garden room and conservatory extensions that date back from the 1860s. In fact, you've got one of the best examples in this district I've ever seen. So it follows that example. The contrast is deliberate. It is what it is. And I don't consider that it does any harm to the character or significance of the listed building. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Right, local member. Councillor at the back, yeah.
Good evening.
I must say to you that in future, you probably know, you have to tell us that you want to speak on an application.
Apologies.
But we'll forget it this time because you probably didn't know that.
I didn't. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chairman, officers and fellow councillors. I stand before you to represent my constituents, William and Juliet Rice, in support of their single-storey garden room extension, which has received no objections from the parish nor from other village residents, of which I am one. Having read the information set out in the planning agenda and the advice given, I would like to express my support of their application and make the following comments. The property is owned by Merton College, Oxford, along with most of the land surrounding Draughton, and the Rices run the farm and live in the house on a 3-generational agricultural tenancy, of which they are the 2nd generation. Merton College, one of Oxford's older colleges, has approved this high-quality design. The property is owned by the college and no work would be approved without its consideration to the building materials and the structure. This property will continue to be owned by Merton for many years to come, and therefore any extension would have to add benefit and not detract from its historical situation and be of benefit to future users of this property, which may not be the Rices. The property was listed in 1985 and the Rice took over the property in 1999. In that time, they have done nothing but appreciate and look after this listed building. The gardens once a jungle and the interiors were not in a good state of repair. The house is now a wonderful family home with historical character evident. The 1998 edition was approved post-listing and has been noted by officers that it does not represent a positive addition. The benefit of this garden room extension is that it will go a long way to improve the previous extension by removing the garage doors and adding windows in line with its historical character. It has already been noted by officers that the proposed extension would not be overdevelopment, that harm, if any, would be of a minor nature, and that the general character of the building would not be adversely affected. Therefore, I feel this extension would be of benefit and should be accepted. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Parker.
Yes, thank you, Chair. The officer states it would be contrary to GN2E, which will not adversely affect a conservation area or a building listed as being of architectural historic interest and their settings. Also, para 134 of the MPPF refers to harm of the asset. So I think we have to understand what the applicant actually wants. I was going to use the word conservatory, but obviously it's garden room. So it's a garden room. So that's what we have to bear in mind. This is what we're talking about. It's not a double extension or anything like that. It's a garden room. It'll be made from oak, 20 metres square, and to the west of the rectory. So the rectory, which is over to the east, you can't see it there actually. It's further over. But anyway, as previous speakers have said, the house is 17th century, substantial alterations and additions in the 19th century, and then a 2-storey range addition in 1998. Therefore, the house has evolved over the centuries, as you would expect it to, and as other listed buildings have done. If we go to page 103 of the report, the last paragraph. Sorry. Has been pointed out also, there's no overdevelopment and it would not dominate the historic building in size, status or design. And also, literally, you cannot see this from the road at all. If you then turn over, we've actually then got on to something which says the 2-storey extension, which does not represent a positive addition. So I think there we're talking about cumulative harm. It's interesting on that one because the actual building was listed in 1985 and the extension was done in 1998. So therefore, it must have been all right at the time, otherwise it would not have got through DDC planning in one form or another. So as far as we're concerned, it's not a problem, it's there. So the other things to bear in mind is, if we go then to get the right page in there. So, yeah, para 132, which is what the officer refers to. That's when considering the impact of a proposed development on the significance of a designated heritage asset, great weight should be given to the asset's conservation. And also, para 134, great weight should be given to the conservation of a heritage asset, and any harm or loss should require clear and convincing justification. So the key words here are significance and harm. I sort of contend that a garden room is not significant and no harm will be attached to the listed building. Also, that very modern 20th century garage door to the right is going to be replaced in stone, so I think that will actually be a benefit to this establishment. And I think the other thing to bear in mind in the core planning principles, which is number 17, second one down, where it states, not simply be about scrutiny, but instead be a creative exercise in finding ways to enhance and improve the places in which people live their lives. I contend this is exactly what this is doing, and there is absolutely no harm to that listed building whatsoever. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Frenchman is next.
Thank you, Chair. I was minded to agree with officers' advice on this when I looked on the website and saw the photographs that were shown there. But having seen these photographs, it puts it in a slightly different light, in fact, a completely different light. I can't believe for the life of us that the planning committee in 1990, whatever it was, eight. I presume you were on it, sir?
No, I wasn't.
Or were you fishing at the time?
In 30 years' time, that's when another political party took over.
Oh, right.
They took over in 1997, I think.
I cannot see that that would be allowed in any planning committee these days. And I think that in the light of that and the fact that the listed building is basically to the left, and the door will be removed, I think is a positive contribution, I think, as Councillor Parker said. So I am minded to suggest that we actually go against officers' advice and that we accept this the garden room extension because well, I don't know what the plan is. It just improves the listed building.
Okay, you
take sort of Councillor Parker has said that he considered that there's no harm to the designated heritage asset.
Less than substantial harm, is it?
No, there's no harm. There's less than substantial harm, and then there's substantial harm.
Okay.
So if there's no harm, you don't have to weigh up any public benefits or anything like that.
Right. Okay. There's no harm.
okay? I'd like to know where the car's going to go, if the garage is going to go. You won't park the car in the garage, will you?
Who uses the garage for storing cars in? I don't know anybody who does that.
If you look on the previous photo, I think there's 2 or 3 cars parked outside.
Yeah, I saw that. Councillor Chamberlain.
Thank you, Chairman. I don't agree, but you'd expect me to say that. There's often
Sorry,
I'm
sorry.
often led to
Can I just say, I did make a proposal, and you didn't ask for a seconder.
You didn't actually use those words.
I did. I said on mine.
You're minded to suggest you didn't use the
hold
word.
on, gentlemen.
Sorry, I misspoke.
The fact, it is a fact, I am advised that you did make a proposal and I didn't ask for a seconder. I saw a hand go up close to you. I was about to go to Councillor Auger suggesting he was going to second it. I don't know whether he was or not.
Yeah, I would. I actually, again,
Can I put you on to
Sorry,
speak in a second?
Okay, yes, yeah, no problem.
Because I've already...
Yes. Okay, no problem.
Okay, back to you, Councillor Chandler.
Thank you, Chairman. There's been many examples in the years that I've served here of a lack of real understanding of what designation of a historical asset means. The terminology used, I agree, can be confusing. Less than substantial harm, what does that mean? It almost means you didn't knock it down, because that's substantial harm. No harm means that you've had no effect at all, and you have, so it very rarely occurs. Benefit to outweigh less than substantial harm has to be public benefit. I draw your attention to the foot of page 109 in the officer's report. The Historic England Good Practice Advice Note on Managing Significance in Decision Taking from 2015 warns that where significance has been compromised in the past, care needs to be taken to ensure that additional change will not further detract from that significance. I don't disagree with you that the most recent extension could have been a lot better, but that's not a reason for putting something even more modern and out of kilter with the original building in its place. The officers then go on to say the proposal to remove the metal up and over garage door on the front elevation and infill the opening with stonework and a new window would improve the appearance of this part of the building, and nobody would disagree with that. However, the addition of another extension here would result in these elements together making up a more prominent part of the building. The fact that it's not visible from the highway is irrelevant. You must learn and take these points on board. They are actually quite serious. If you're going to have designated historical assets, then you need to think long and hard about obeying the rules that go with them. So I couldn't possibly support the proposal, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Chandler. Councillor Organ, next.
Yeah, we went for advice to rules. You know, it is Historic England advice with regard to these issues, and that means that people can have a view and a legitimate view with regard to them. I agree with Councillor Frenchman. I do not believe that this is going to cause harm. If anything, I think it's going to benefit this particular building, and the assurances of the quality of the build actually, for me, give me that reassurance. But the historical advice is not rules, so I support the proposal by Councillor Frenchman.
Thank you, Councillor Paul, next.
Well, I agree with Councillor Chandler. However, I've said in this chamber on countless times, the reason that buildings are listed or buildings are live, you know, they live. That building has lived through several changes in its life. The one there that was built in 1900 and freezing hard looks absolutely hideous. We would never have approved it, I feel sure. However, but buildings are living things and they do evolve. And because they evolve, and provided that the materials are approved by our planning officers, I have no problem whatsoever in wishing that this application goes forward for approval, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Swift.
Yes, I am in a very difficult position, but before that, I would like to go back to what the speaker said, which I think was very untrue, and we have to be careful. When he said that the 17th century was listing, but the 19th century, a house is listed in its entity, regardless if one bit is less So basically, the fact that the 17th century was this, it's not the 17th century that is listed; it's the house in its globality. I am in two minds with that, because I don't think Merton College will allow an historic building, because they know exactly how it's work, especially in Oxford. They are not very rigorous, in colleges. Will have allowed an extension to be put on, despite the fact in '98 that was the existing extension was put on, but also because the extension is in oak. I think it will show the progress, and that is what sometimes in historical building we want to see. It's to see that it's not.
Doing well this one.
It's my bedtime alarm.
To get up and to go to bed.
Have you finished it then?
So I do think that I listened to what Alan Chandler said, and also I listened to what everybody said, and I am in a difficult position that I do believe that there is no harm, despite the fact that we prolong the building after listening to everybody.
Thank you. Councillor Robertson.
Well, thank you, Chair. I have to reluctantly agree with Councillor Chandler here. Basically, from our planning training, our listed building training that we had not so long ago, we were told quite categorically that less substantial harm means any harm at all. Anything we do to it is harmful, whether you can see it, whether you can't, whether it's the building itself or its curtilage. It's quite straightforward. This may, well, by the definitions that I've heard, cause harm.
We have two people wishing to speak, two officers. Simon, you can
Can I just deal with one small point that Councillor Organ made, which perhaps doesn't come out in these reports? Because what Councillor Organ was saying is, we're really dealing with guidance, we're dealing with guidance from historic England, and that's their position, and you're perfectly entitled to have a different view. Yes, you are, in terms of guidance, but what you do also have to remember, and this would have come out in the training that Councillor Robertson's referred to, is you're under a statutory duty as well. Section 66 of the List of Buildings and Conservation Areas Act makes it absolutely clear that any proposed development to a listed building must conserve or enhance that listed building. So you have to determine, will this proposal conserve or enhance that listed building? And if there is any suggestion that it doesn't, then as a matter of law, you must refuse it.
Is that conserve or enhance, or conserve and enhance?
My recollection is conserve and enhance.
Really?
Thank you. You'd like to say something as well?
Yes. Oh, no, I think...
You need to cover it, right, okay. Councillor Evans.
Thank you, Chairman. So I couldn't make up my mind about this living here, but so I'd like sort of confirmation. There is no door on the end there, is there? So some of that wall is going to have to come down to get into this building. Or are they going out and then coming in another door?
If we can go to the floor plans, we should be on the...
It's
the wrong one.
The next one wrong.
It's existing.
I haven't seen any internal drawing.
There's a front door.
There's more than one drawing, but
It just says something about the west wall of the modern two-storey range will be removed.
Yes.
To create an internal.
Yeah, so some of it's going to be sort of what I was hoping to show with the drawings. If we go to the proposed ground floor plan, you can see some of the existing extensions going to be remodelled, and essentially most of the outer wall is going to be removed to allow for the garden room.
Where that sofa is where the garage door is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, okay, it's a bit more than I thought.
So we've got Councillor Evans. Anything else? If not, Councillor Chandler?
Just a small comment that I wish members to take note of. When a government or quasi-government document refers to advice, it means do this or else. I speak from personal experience.
Yes. Thank you. I'm glad we have your bit of humour as well as serious. Right, Councillor Irving Smith, quickly.
So I made a statement, but with what Simon, our lawyer, has said, I find that my statement, or the way I wanted to vote, was pre what Simon said. So now I'm even more in a model.
Right. Okay, well, you've got some more advice. At least you're proving to be a valuable member of the planning committee, that you haven't predetermined anything and you're listening to everything. Right. The proposal refers, like I say, I want two proposals for the two different applications. So the proposal is for the first application, which is not the listed building consent. It's the first application. Are you happy with that?
Yeah.
You made the proposal, sorry?
Yeah.
Councillor Fletcher, you're happy if it refers to the first application?
Yes.
Okay, and the second then?
Yes.
Right, okay. All those in favour that the application be approved, please show. Approved. 4. 5. Right, those against?
6.
Hang on. Can you start again, because some hands went up at the last minute. All those in favour of the application being approved, please show. 6. Right, those against? 1, 2, 3. Right, the application is approved. Do we have to give a reason why? Right, the reason why is what?
No, it positively, I'm just trying to think what the word Simon says, enhances, conserves and enhances.
No harm.
Yeah.
That was knocking the ball down.
Right, now we go to the second proposal. Now we go to the second application, not to talk on, because we've talked on it. Again, I need a proposal on it. This is the listed building consent.
Yeah.
Is this a listed building? I thought we did that. I thought the other one was a listed building.
No, this one is
Oh, in that case, no, never mind.
No, I thought I made it plain that this was the first application.
You did, Chair.
Not to me, Chair.
This one is the listed building one. So, are you making the same proposal?
Yes.
And the same seconder?
Yes.
Okay, those in favour that the application should be approved for the same reason, please show. 5. Those against? 1, 2, 3, 4. So somebody must have abstained somewhere then.
I did both times now.
Oh, okay. You're right, you want conditions now?
All the materials should be...
Submitted to an approved
Yes.
writing. And joinery details?
Sorry? Yes.
Joinery details? Yeah. And any details about blue, or are you happy with that for materials to be submitted to an approved writing?
Well, I'm not clever enough to word those, but whatever we would normally put on something like this.
So we're dead clear, both applications have been approved, both the listed building one and the main one. Okay?
No, I thought it was the other way around.
Yes. One left.
I'm advised that we've got 5 minutes before we have to vote on whether we want to break or continue. Agreed? Right.
I think we'll get through it, Chair.
I think so as well. But if you want to take the vote now, do you want to continue?
Yeah.
Right, okay. We're going to continue. Right, application is in Crick and the number is 746.
Thank you, Chair, and I shall be brief, like I said, it is past my bedtime now. The application refers to a modern 2-storey detached property within Church Street in Crick. You'll see from the photograph, the photographs, the building itself is set back from the main highway with a detached garage located between the front of the dwelling and the public footpath itself. The proposal seeks a two-storey extension and proposes to remove the existing single-storey extension and the porch and to replace it with a two-storey extension with a gable fronting public footpath. In terms of issues of consideration, the main issue is the impact on the street scene and also the impact on number 20 Church Street, which you can see in the background of that photograph there, and lies to the back edge of the pavement there, the gable end, fronting onto the public footpath. In terms of size and scale of it, it will not project out more than that existing single storey, and officers there have considered that as regard to the street scene. The proposal won't be detrimental to the immediate character, the appearance of the distinct dwelling, nor the amenities of the property at number 20. As such, I recommend this application be approved, Chairman.
Thank you, John. No speakers, local members?
Do you want to go first, Catherine?
What I would say is please look at the objections, which are very small, from the parish council. And I'm not metricated, but I work out 4 metres coming forward from the front of the house as being 10 feet. And I think that will impinge upon the immunity of the neighbours at number 20. They've already got it anyway. I think that will just cause further deterioration in their immunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. That's Councillor Olsen.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Basically, I've read through this and I've read the objections, and they're not very strong. I didn't think they were anyway, but some of the conditions they asked for, should we have been minded to approve it, are a bit over the top. I don't think they're enforceable. This is the parish council I'm talking about now. They haven't made any strong representations to me. I did drive past this the other day just to see what they were talking about, but it's very difficult to see around that area. There's a raised pavement just on the inside part of the village, if you like, just before this property. The pavement goes up in the air, and it is a bit tight, and it's also got a little tiny lane called King Stark Close. You can just about see that corner of it there. Now, it will slightly affect the amount of traffic, perhaps. They're asking for, if we do approve it, things like they're not allowed to unload any groceries. I see the point of it. But so, generally speaking, I have no strong objection to this, but I'm not prepared to make a proposal until I've heard everybody else's view.
You're not going to make a proposal? Okay, Councillor Olsen. Right. We need somebody else to make a proposal.
I'm quite happy with it, and I propose that we go with officer's advice. So
thank you very much. Do we have a second then? Councillor Ed, thank you. Any other discussion? No, in that case, we have a proposal to approve it, which has been seconded. All those in favour, please show. Those against? 1. Okay, the application is approved. Right, that concludes the main part, but we have one report at the end. Who's presenting that? Oh, you. Sorry, Catherine? Yeah. Who is it?
I'll try and be as brief as possible. This is a confirmation of the tree preservation order which was originally placed as an emergency group in the village of Flor. Following this emergency preservation order, the landscape officer went out on site and has amended the group to a single smaller group and 4 individual trees. The trees are part of the last orchard in Flor, and the site is within the neighbourhood plan, which is subject to referendum next week, I believe, as an important open space. The tree preservation order is therefore recommended to be confirmed. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Robinson.
That we confirm.
Thank you.
So I've just got a question. Do you know how old the elm orchard is?
I personally don't.
Oh, it's just interesting.
No,
I'll second.
Floor had dozens of orchards. In fact, probably have more orchards than any other village. They've all been built on. This is probably one that's still remaining.
Did they have a cider industry there? Was that the, or was it just
Not as far as I'm aware. I'm sure the local member will tell us if you want.
Anyway,
I just want to go home.
Sorry, I will second.
Any other comments on it? Do you agree with the advice?
Agree.
Thank you. That concludes the meeting. Thank you.